Hello, friends and bees, and friends who are also bees. Welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week we are going to be continuing our playthrough of Higurashi When They Cry, Matsuribayashi, and I am pretty certain that we are coming close to the end. And I'm pretty certain of this because while looking up info on this, I discovered that there is like a secret chapter you can get if you do everything in the right order. So I have like made myself a new save where I went through all of the old chapters that we've done previously in the right order. And so this week we're going to be continuing those and then hopefully getting to the fragments, the actual fragments of the games themselves. So we'll see how it goes. I am going to be repeating two chapters that I've actually already done because I need to do those in order to get the like secret extra chapter. I'm still not entirely sure how the extra chapter works. Apparently you have to like complete the game, then reload and do it again. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll I'll make it work. Judicious use of saving, I think, is how I'll do it. So yeah, swap over to the gameplay, shall we? Always have this moment where I think, oh my god, is it actually going to swap and look okay? Let's hop into connecting fragments. We are actually going to start with one that we haven't done previously, and at this point I've got the guide up here, but it's because I want to get the secret ending, and if I can do the secret ending on stream today, assuming that I manage to finish the rest of the game today, I'd rather do that than be like, oh no, my organic trying to work things out. It's like, it's cheating, but whatever, I think it's easier this way. So let us start with a new wind, which requires the Sonozaki, the Ryugu family's move, which we did with a brainer there, and a watermelon from the Sonozaki family, which I think is this one. So, okay, I'll get going. Thank you. Don't mention it. Come back anytime, okay? Hi, I'm home. Hey, Uncle Hiroshi. Long time no see. Hey, Mion. Are you going home? I have to give my clients a ride. A ride? You're talking about your realtor business, huh? The Sonozaki family is one of the largest landowners here in the Hinamizawa area. However, since all the land out here is countryside, sorry, just adjusting audio a little bit, it just ends up sitting there. Recently, the land owned by the Sonozaki family was put on sale in lots. At a family meeting, some of her relatives opposed the idea by saying we shouldn't sell off land that was handed down from our ancestors, but Granny snapped and shut them right up. Some of the unused fields were made into vacant lots and released for public sale. Actually, I had some questions about it too. The Sonozaki family is very wealthy. We have plenty of land as well as money. So why did we have to sell it off? What's more surprising to me is that Granny was the one who came up with the idea. I would have thought she'd get furious if someone even mentioned something like that. Probably she would, but because she came up with it, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, if you're ever near the station, be sure to stop by. I'll treat you to a cup of tea. A barley tea. Sure, thank you very much. So how's your business going? I'm surprised there are actually city folk who are interested. They must be those nouveau riche types who live in the big city yet also want a house in the countryside. Well, I guess some people are curious. There's one family seeking to move here, not purchase a villa. He said he wants to build a studio, so he must be an artist of some point. Oh, that's great. Oh gosh, I better go now. Supposedly, he planned to talk to show them the lots, and he's the one driving the bus. Should be about time for the tour and the explanations to end. He left in a hurry. Hey, can I ask you something? Why did you want to sell our land? You don't like newcomers. I don't like newcomers, and I don't like big city people either, but the village needs them. It's like ventilating a room. Is it good for the village to have new people move in? This is a wonderful village, but the world is changing quickly. In the past, a very small change took 10 or even 20 years to happen. It was such a quiet and unchanging village. Well, that's rural life. In this village, nothing is different from yesterday and today. It's too boring for me, though. But you made a friend, didn't you? Reina Ryugu moved here and you got along great. You told me you were happy that you had a friend your age. Yeah, making friends unexpectedly is fun. I remember you saying that school is boring when Reina's absent. Do you remember that? Are you saying that's the good thing about letting new people move here? No matter how cold it gets, you still have to ventilate your living space. Otherwise, it gets filled with bad air and you'll suffocate to death. You open the window, even knowing the freezing cold air will come in. It's a bad example if a good analogy. Letting outsiders move here is like ventilating the village. Sure, it lets fresh air in and gets rid of bad air like us. If I bring up the Hojo family, I know Granny will explode, so I won't. But I think what Granny is trying to say includes things like their ongoing isolation. Even now, when she remembers about what happened to that explanatory meeting, she gets really upset. But I guess even she feels that it needs to come to an end. But, of course, she can't just say she'll forgive them, not when she's at this stubborn age. She can't lose face by openly saying they need to be forgiven. Honestly, I think she's behaving like a little schoolgirl who actually likes a person but treats them rudely when they're around. Maybe people really do go back to being children when they get old enough. I'm not just talking about Granny. The same can be said about all of the old people in the village. No, maybe I should say the evil around here. That must be what she meant by bad air. There's no use circulating the air in a closed room. Okay, I missed a bit of the dialogue there. Unless you open the windows and let fresh air in, the air in the room won't be purified. We don't know if there's actually going to be people moving here, but don't you think you're expecting too much from whoever does? Just Raina moving here changed you, Mion. Whoever moves here will change this village. If possible, I hope seeing young and energetic people who have the charisma to lead will appear. They need to be the ones to put us old people away into heaven. You thinking about Grams? Damn you, nobody's thinking about him. Here, have the housekeeper put away the tea set on the veranda. Okay, I will. Mion. The day Satoshi Hojo disappeared, you came to me, huh? Yeah, I guess I did. That is what woke me up. This problem with the Hojo family. We can't just let time take care of it. We have to take care of it ourselves as soon as possible. But you can't do it yourself, so you're going to have an outsider take care of it? That's the best I can do. No matter how bad your hand is, the next card can change the flow of the game. So maybe it's a good idea to draw cards from the stack. Your generation will be a new wind. Let that new wind come from the outside, and you'll be the wind from the inside. When both winds create a gale, the gust will blow away the stale air from the village. That's the epitome of leaving your problems to others. You're the one who started the fire, and you're trying to have your grandchild take care of it? Oh, don't say that. As the new leader of the Samsaki family, bring the new wind into the village. If you're saying that's my job as your successor, please, Mion. I'm too old. The only thing I can do now is be despised by people. The wind chime sounded quietly. Maybe that's a sign to let us know a cool breeze is on the way. That's really interesting. I guess that's sort of why, Mion was able to say with such ferocity that actually, Oreo is for forgiving the Hojos, but she can't say it for fear of, losing face, so it's interesting. Right. Going to do disappointment next, which we have actually already done, but going to redo it for the sake of, fingers crossed, getting the perfect ending. Maybe we should wrap up for now. I don't think you're in the mood today. That's not true. Sorry if I gave you that impression. There we go, finally got my Takano voice back. Miss Takano has been looking through the viewfinder, but I haven't seen her push the shutter at all. While she came along, I don't think she's in the mood for bird watching. Miss Takano has been depressed ever since the announcement of the new policies at the board meeting the other day. That's understandable. The Irie Institute was created by her in the first place. It was created so that she could devote her life to researching Hinamizawa syndrome. For all that to be tossed aside while being asked to wrap up work within a few years, of course she's depressed. Besides, she can't even fully spend the rest of the time left on research. The funding was being cut in stages, and by the end they'll barely be able to finish closing up, let alone research anything. I heard that she's the granddaughter of the late Dr. Takano. Her determination to finish her grandfather's research is what kept her going until today. Since everything has been going so smoothly until recently, the sudden change in the wind's direction must have been a total shock. The shift in people pulling the strings must be pretty serious. The board of directors was completely changed out, and she heard that people and projects influenced by the Koizumi faction were being restructured to set an example. The wind's new direction seems unlikely to remain for a long time. It's highly unlikely that the Koizumi faction will come back into power, so no matter what we say, it's almost impossible to expect the same kind of support from them. Isn't there something we can do? Mr. Kano muttered. Unfortunately, there isn't. There's nothing anyone can do. At first, the board talked about halting the research immediately, but after lots of convincing, they finally agreed to make it a gradual suspension over a few years. The people who helped us when the Irie Institute was first created are the ones who managed that. Well, it looks like the worst case scenario. It's actually someone else's hard-earned victory, huh? 3 years was the best they could do. I tried too, you know. I used your data to try and explain to the board how important this research is. Only 3 more years, huh? Maybe Mr. Kano doesn't understand how hard I tried to convince them, because what she just said tells me that the length of time left really doesn't matter to her. The important thing is that her research is being stopped. The fact that I couldn't meet her expectations and made her feel disappointed kind of hurts. The best I can do at this point is route as much funding as possible towards the research so that you can work to your heart's content for the few years we have left. Sorry, I can't do anything else. That's okay. If that's the best you can do, then I'm very happy. Her words hurt me. I wish she'd chosen different ones, but I think that would be asking too much from someone so heartbroken. I must be understanding of her pain at a time like this. Besides, I know how close she was to the deceased Dr. Koizumi. She even called him uncle. To her, his death is not just the start of a coup or a change in direction. She lost a person who was always looking after her. No matter how hard she pushed herself to act villainous, she wasn't supposed to be part of this world. She was just an ordinary woman. But she was intrigued by Hinamizawa syndrome, and she had to find help from someone who had more power than her to be able to continue research on it. The dark side of the world she should never have gotten involved in, extended its hands out to her. She was left all by herself in that world, and she's still trying to put on a brave face. I'm sure Mr. Kano thinks I'm unreliable. Realistically, I'm not the kind of person who can meet her expectations, nor do I have the power to. The least I can do for her is stay sincere and remain her ally until the very end. Since she had so much room to act, it's harder for her to determine what actions to take when she's cornered. I wanted to believe she wouldn't, but I'm concerned she might do something drastic eventually. Wink. I hope I can be of help to her in that very final moment before she makes her move. Wink. But I can't even gain enough trust from her to do that. How pitiful and pathetic. Of course, part of it is, I want her to rely on me. But that's not really it. She's been abandoned in this world and is all alone, so someone has to be her ally. And if I'm the only one who knows about that, then being her ally is my job. I know her too well, so I know she'll never ask for help. Even if she says it's unnecessary, someone has to be with her. I know that. I don't really think I'm suited for that job. I'm sure there are many reliable people out there who are more appropriate for the position than me, but I can't let her be alone until that person appears. Mr. Kano, I know I'm pathetic and unreliable. What's this all of a sudden? What is it, Jiro? But I think I can be of help to you, so thank you. But I don't believe that talking to people helps you feel better. Sorry. Though I'm happy to hear that you're concerned, I really am. Okay, that's fine. I'll always be on your side. Please believe that, okay? Of course I will. If you think of a good idea to convince the board, please let me know, okay? Sure, I'll do my best. Why is it? I know she's such a strong person and there's nothing someone like me can do for her, but somehow I feel she needs help and support right now. She looks as tough as ever, but only I, who's been taking pictures of her all this time, can tell. A viewfinder, after all, is also a window to look into someone's heart. But if I say something like that, she'll tease me again, so I won't. Anyway, I never thought she needed support more strongly than I do right now.
Come on in, Chuck. Come on in.
Hello, Final. Thank you very much for the raid. It is very much appreciated. How are you? I hope you are doing well. Hello friends from Final Stream. It is me, Amochi. I am a variety streamer, stream a bunch of different games. At the moment I am playing through Higurashi When They Cry, which is a puzzle game of sorts. And we're putting together the final pieces for the perfect tune to ideally fix all the problems we've had in the past. It may happen, it may not. Let's see how it goes. Unfortunately, this is like near the end of the game, so it may be very confusing, and also spoilers for like the whole series if you do want to play the Higurashi series. If you like puzzle games that are mostly about thinking and like trying to work out plot lines more than necessarily like solving puzzles like a point and click style or adventure game, I'd really recommend this series. I really like it. Okay. This is the next one. Just starting one day, eventually, Keiichi will arrive. I don't know what to do. My name is Ichiro Mibara and I am hopelessly lost. I came to Hinamizawa on a tour to find a lot for a vacation home. When the realtor finished explaining some details, he told us to take a walk until the departure time. Such beautiful scenery and fresh air. I let my senses guide me, and here I am. Where am I? I still have little time left before the departure, but I am completely lost. This is basically the middle of nowhere, but people actually do live here. If I keep walking, I should run into someone. Then I can ask for directions. Don't worry. Only thing I need to keep in mind is the departure time for the bullet train. But the more time passes, the more I start to think I was being too optimistic about running into someone. Because I can't find anyone at all. Ichiro, who is Keiichi, our main character's dad, is kind of definitely a character with a capital C. Maybe I'm walking farther and farther away from people are, in which case I'm in serious trouble. So upon hearing someone's voice, I feel immensely relieved. Sounds like little girls are playing nearby. If it's a place where kids can play, it must be a safe village. I follow those voices. Upon riding the wild pampas grass, I can see a beautiful field. 2 girls are playing there. They're dancing in the field filled with blooming wildflowers. What I'm seeing is more beautiful than all the great works of art I've ever seen put together. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but this looks holier than any religious painting. Why is it that seeing girls dance around like this makes people feel this way? It's probably because we're sinners. Can't live with pleasure and glory alone. We sin even as we live. That's why we feel awed by the sight of innocence. Reminds us of the time when we were pure. We grow up naturally and we lose innocence as we do, and we admire and adore the children who symbolise that which we've lost. Or something. Meet, there's a suspicious person who's mumbling some weird stuff over there. Wait, he can see Hanyuu? Hanyuu, for reference, is ghost or spirit or demon or something that only Rika can see. Oh, Rika, that's not a suspicious person. Eh? Sorry, I'm not suspicious. But you've been staring at my... No, don't turn me in. I really wasn't. I was using this mirror to fix my hair. I don't know what you're talking about, but it sure sounds interesting. Like father, like son. The girls teased me for a while, and when they got tired of doing that, they went back to dancing around. Realizing that whatever I said would backfire, I decided to leave them alone and sat down to watch them play. How the fuck can he see Hanyuu? I wonder how old they are. They seem rather young, but maybe they could be close to Keiichi's age. If we move here, Keiichi might meet them at school. If he would see them at school, then there were girls that lived here. If all the children in Hinamizawa are like them, then even if living a rural life may have some challenges, there's a good reason for us to move here. Oh my god, notifications scared the shit out of me. Thank you very much for the follow. It is very much appreciated. I hope you are doing well and having a good day. I wasn't expecting the notification noise. I was like, oh, the fuck. Ooh, nice. I am going to warn you in that case, like spoilers for the rest of the series. I'm right near the end of the last game. But it's a good series. I like it. Big fan. So just in case, potential spoilers for later down the line. If all the children in Hinamizawa are like them, then even if living a rural life may have some challenges, there's a good reason for us to move here. We're not very good parents. We didn't understand what Keiichi was going through, and left him alone until the very end. According to the parenting book I bought, the first few problems are calls for help. It doesn't matter what the action itself is, but the fact that those actions are occurring is a primitive appeal from the child seeking communication. That's fair then. I came into this series with like a bit of knowledge because I read a fair chunk of the manga. I think I got like 2/3 of the way through the manga, but I didn't finish it and I'd never watched the anime. So after a while, it was all completely new to me, but nice. The fact that those actions are occurring is a primitive appeal from the child seeking communication. Humans can speak, and that's one of the reasons why we don't notice such signs. We can only hear words through our ears, and we can't sense the signs coming from our son's heart. Keiichi probably thinks that it's all his fault. Of course, he's not absent of blame. Humans aren't dogs or cats. We should know what's right and what's wrong. But it's our fault too as his parents. To let him think that he had to go that far for us to be able to understand him is pathetic and disappointing of us. If we'd understood him and hadn't cornered him, Keiichi wouldn't have done that. So the incidents weren't only his fault. Everyone in the Maebara family was to blame. I want to explain that to him, but he's still too young and hot-headed to be able to understand. Right now, the guilt he's feeling is crushing him under its weight. He doesn't even have the will to live. My wife is the same. She's blaming herself for forcing him to study for better grades. She thinks that's why the incidents took place. And I'm no different. I'm blaming myself for not being involved in my son's education. I think that's why the incidents took place. Nice. I actually found, I was at my parents', just before I moved a couple of months ago. I was at my parents', like, helping clean up my room and get rid of some stuff, and I found, like, a whole bunch of my old Higurashi manga. I was like, oh, I'm so tempted to take this with me, but I don't need it. Moving across the globe with 2 suitcases and a backpack, and then getting your mum to send, like, everything else in 2 boxes once you've arrived means you have to be very, very limited about the stuff that you carry across with you. The cross will forever be on our shoulders, even after the injured child accepts our apologies. Yet our cold society would tell us to die under the weight of that cross. Even so, we have to live. I'm definitely gonna, after I finish this, I'm definitely gonna watch the anime. The new anime that's come out, because apparently it's very good, so. We have to accept our sins and carry on our burdens on our shoulders. Maybe we can start a new life here in this village. I thought about all that as I watched the girls dance. Keiichi needs friends like them. Friends like those girls will offer him so much more than the friends who only talked about cram schools and exam results. The girls are playing near a sign that doesn't fit into this open field. It's a sign about lots for sale, and the name of the realtor who brought me here for the tour is written on it. Does that mean we can live even in this beautiful area if we want to? Yes, yeah. So my plan is to finish this game, then I'm going to play the console arcs that are like story relevant through the 07th mod, and then I'm going to start playing Umineko. I'm thinking about playing Sakonia, but I know there's like limits on what you can and can't stream, so I mean, maybe that'll have lifted by the time I finish Umineko, I don't know, but a friend of mine, Lynn Theory, is playing through it at the moment, and every so often we'll message each other like, oh my god, there's a reference, working out like how the two related to each other back when we were both like had just started the series, and like, huh, what, hang on, so I'm excited to play it. It seems really good. In this beautiful area, one of the girls spoke as if reading my mind. This is a wonderful village. You'll find lots of things you don't have in the big city. Yeah, that's right. I think so too. But I think you'll bring some things from the city to this village that we don't have. Do we have anything? Sure you do. Ow, ow. We've lived in this village for hundreds of years, just like this. Nobody comes to visit, nothing happens, and so nothing ever changes. Isn't that what's good about this place? Didn't you come here because you wanted to change something? Yeah, you're right about that part. We want new people to come here too. It's like breaking the dam that keeps the swamp water from flowing out. Water is purified by moving. If it stays motionless, then it's just a swamp. Yeah, I believe they are eventually getting officially translated. I know there's like unofficial translations through 07th mod, so that's how I plan to play them. Just because there are a couple of them that are like, it seems like they really add more to the story. Yeah, I'm just gonna play the like story relevant ones that, you know, not like the comedy or slice of life ones, but it seems like they add a lot to it, lots of like backstory, but also like expansions, so I'm intrigued. Definitely going to play them when I finished Matsuribayashi. Water is purified by moving. If it stays motionless, then it's just a swamp. In fact, this village used to be named after a swamp up until the Meiji era, but the name was changed to Hinamizawa. The water in a swamp stagnates because it doesn't flow, but the water in a stream stays fresh. Besides, you're the ones who'll teach us that dams can be broken, should be broken. Are they playing riddles with me? I have no idea what they're trying to say, but there's one thing I do know. The villagers are waiting for new people to come here, and they want to build a future with those newcomers. I looked at the sign behind the girls one more time, so that I'd remember this place. I've already decided. We'll be waiting for you to move here, Nebara. Oh, there you are. Sir, how did you get this far out? A raspy voice from the distance ended this innocent moment. It's the realtor. I guess he's been looking for me because I didn't return. Sorry about that. I got lost. I apologised while scratching my head. I turned around to look for the girls, but they weren't there anymore. Very spooky. I'm absolutely intrigued by the fact that he can see Hanyuu. That's wild. Because he's like the only person who can. Except for Rika. Very strange. Okay, so our next one is Deja Vu. Doubly Deja Vu because I did it last time round, but going for that secret ending. Ooh, nice. Hey, Nakagawa. Click back again. Long time no see. Still at it lately? You know, that. No, not at all. It's no fun getting old. You've got to concentrate when you work with clay. If you put it off for a long time, your senses get dull and there's no point. Sensei, allow me to introduce someone. Doctor, Master, whatever. This is Major Takano. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I truly appreciate it. Ooh. Expensive. Money. I didn't really make time for you, actually. I was told that I could have some good raw sea urchins. Sea urchins are good for you, did you know? Rich in vitamin A, and they're good for your skin. Women like sea urchins, right? It's true that sea urchins are rich in vitamin A, but compared to spinach, it's not anything worth making a fuss about. Well, none of that matters right now. He just seemed like an unpleasant man, so I wanted to criticise him. These men are the directors of the Alphabet Project, who control the funding for the Irie Institute. They're also people who are in the position of being able to offer their opinions to those directors. To put it in a simpler way, they are the new owners of the Irie Institute. Although not as much as Uncle Koizumi was, they're also leaders and influencers in various fields. I have to be very careful not to upset them, and therefore there's no way I would have the ability to call them in. By using the influence that the Koizumi faction once had, I'd finally managed to get this chance. Uncle Koizumi, who gave me his full support and made everything go my way, is not here anymore. I'm on my own from this point on, and I will open up a path. But this stage just doesn't belong to me today. I can't let the people who offered me this chance lose face, so I have to wait patiently until it's my turn. My primary objective today is to explain what a prominent research subject the Hinamizawa syndrome is, and acquire an indefinite extension for our research. They only ever think about money, so they aren't even realising the hidden potential of the syndrome. They don't recognise that it's worth spending a lot of money on. It's not mere research on the existence of an unknown parasite, but something that may overthrow the basic foundations of anthropology. A Nobel Prize wouldn't even be enough. It won't be easy trying to explain all that to men who know nothing about any of it, but I have to. That's why I spent many hours making these straightforward support documents. I feel like I know what's up with Takano, but I still feel really bad for her. Like, she deserves way better. The whole, like, from the very start, everything for her was it was all problems. Sometimes we make documents confusing on purpose because we don't like dealing with uneducated people, but this time it's different. I can't look down at them. I must sincerely try to make them understand. The accessible support documents are there in a huge pile. It feels like we're wasting time eating traditional Japanese food in such a relaxed mood. I want to get to the point and explain to them in detail so they can understand. But there is the saying, luck lies in the last helping. I have to be patient right now. To be frank, I thought the Alphabet Project we've seen wasn't that good. In the end, it's been nothing but a sandbox for the old men with their heads still stuck in the Pacific War. Nothing but a sandbox for those old men to craft their dreams of Imperial Japan's revival with money that isn't theirs. Pardon me, do you know how much public funding was wasted on those delusions? From what I've heard, there are already prosecutors poking people like Okno and trying to pin embezzlement on the old board of directors. That's what you get for trying to suck up to those old men. Of course, none of it can be made public, so I guess they'll be held responsible or demoted in another form. This is what the country gets for letting these ghosts of war run around freely all this time. Boy, these grilled sea urchins are fantastic. This is harsh. I realise it's extremely difficult to ask this sort of you when you feel that way, but might I have a moment of your time? Eh? You're from the Irie Institute, aren't you? You're researching some kind of local disease in Nagano or Gifu, right? What's going on down there? The board has decided to hold the research for military applications. The research project itself is to wrap up within 3 years as well. Oh, sorry, that's still being discussed. Anyhow, our work is scheduled to be shut down within a few years. Ah, yes, I remember now. The Irie Institute had a bad reputation even amongst the old board of directors. After all, it sucked up huge funds with barely any inspections. I don't know why, but someone high up kept pushing for it for some reason. Because of that, nobody could really say anything about it, and it was left alone. But you know, that guy loved to flirt around with women, so maybe that had something to do with it. Haha. Is he implying that I slept with Uncle Poisony? He's insulting both of us, but I held my anger in. I can't let myself be bothered by something like this. Anyway, today I would like to explain to you the details of our Institute's research and ask you to reconsider your decision. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend this meeting today. Well, I guess they don't give out free sea urchins for nothing, huh? Haha. I explained to them how much the Hinamizawa syndrome mattered, while being very careful not to go too fast. I tried to let them know that the syndrome's potential is not limited to small things like military applications, but is much more meaningful than that. It may explain ideology and religion. It may even shake the very definition of a human being. I took my time to explain it as slowly and clearly as possible, unlike me who can't speak either slowly or clearly. I'm not confident that all of it had gotten through to the boorish men, but I'm happy if they understood even just a part of it. As long as they understood how much of a magnificent discovery Hinamizawa syndrome really is. Thank you, Major. We'd like to discuss amongst ourselves, so could you please excuse yourself? Yes, thank you. Obviously, they can't discuss in front of me. I left all the documents with them. All I could do now was hope they viewed them favourably. I left the room and closed the sliding door. The room next door is a preparation room, so I was to head there. But I stopped. I shouldn't have done it, but I tried to listen in through the sliding door. I don't know what to say. I feel sorry for everyone on the previous board of directors. I know how you feel. Koizumi pushed this so strongly. I met him once before when he became founding director of the pharmaceuticals. He seemed like a very intelligent person to me. I guess you just can't win against age. It makes you realise how important it is for humans to know when to stop. Insert rude thing here. But it is a fact that this very rare disease called Hinamizawa syndrome really exists. So not everything is a delusion. I hear that the Iria Institute has already succeeded in identifying the disease and developing a treatment. God, I've been getting... This is an aside, just because my phone just buzzed at me. I've been getting like 20 spam texts a day. I'm not sure if it's like an ongoing thing or if it's that someone sold my phone number, but it's really fucking annoying. Already identifying the disease and developing a treatment? Isn't that enough? In modern Japan, we have to be careful with things that might make neighbouring countries nervous, and military-related issues are the most sensitive ones. So, at the very least, we must erase the fact that research for military purposes has been going on for the last few years immediately. Is that separate from simply discontinuing the military research then? Yes. Even if we stopped it immediately, the fact that this Hinamizawa syndrome was being researched in order to create a biological weapon remains. We should hide that fact no matter what purpose the research ended up being used for. If possible, it would be best if Hinamizawa syndrome just disappears. That's true. If the disease remains, then sooner or later someone will become curious about it and dig up the hole we filled. I think we should follow the decision of the board of directors, and as soon as the Iria Institute eradicates this disease, we should have them destroy all evidence of their work before disbanding. I guess that's for the best. It's not even a matter of a Nobel Prize. It's just useless for post-war Japan. Besides, this disease has existed for hundreds of years, right? And we made it this far without any problems. From the start, I thought this amounted to little more than just poking around in the bushes. Me too. I don't doubt the existence of the syndrome, but Dr. Takano, who discovered the disease, is exaggerating more than a little. He had quite the unique interpretation of things. First of all, I've never even heard of a parasite that's capable of controlling people's thoughts. It's just too much. If we tried to explain religions with this, then Buddha, Christ, all those people would be, what was it again, queen carriers? If we tried exposing something like this, we'd be attacked by every nation on the planet. Religion is pretty scary nowadays. It's literally all I'm studying at the moment. I feel like the summary of half of my classes this semester could be religion is pretty scary nowadays, in different forms and ways. If there are parasites that live in human brains, then I guess we can say there are the parasites that live in animal brains, I guess we can say there are parasites that live in human brains too. But for them to control human thoughts, that's a bit too unique, you know? As I peeked in through the gap in the sliding door, I became trapped with an unbelievable sense of déjà vu. This is my first time experiencing this, but it doesn't feel that way. I don't know why, but the memory is so sad and so painful. Huh? Why tears? Before I realised it, I saw a very nostalgic carpeted room on the other side of the sliding door, instead of a room covered in tatami mats. The room is filled with the smell of dust, mixed with the smell of some evaporated medicine, but it's very soothing to me just the same. And there is my grandfather. His article that he poured his heart into was made a mockery of, yet he wasn't even allowed to cry. This isn't a delusion, because within the documents I left with those men, there are lots of references to the article my grandfather wrote. So I'm not surprised for my grandfather to be standing right there, explaining it to them himself. Together with my tears from seeing the sight of my beloved grandfather, I watched these men insult and belittle his masterpiece. I've seen this sight before, and the sight should have ended there, but why is it repeating before my eyes? I can only blankly peek through the sliding door at this strange world where reality and illusion overlap. The Major is a little strange, and Koizumi, who believed in something as ridiculous as this, is a little strange too. But the strangest one of all is the person who wrote this article in the first place. Blends together expectations and illusions, and looks more like a fiction than a thesis. I think it will be a big hit once it gets published, you know? You're absolutely right. I have a friend who's the head of a publishing company. I bet he'll love this, haha. This isn't a laughing matter, gentlemen. A huge amount of money was poured into this over the last few years. Worst thing is that the equipment used to gas the villagers in case of an emergency have already been procured. Our people must never learn about this. For such a plan to exist is scary enough, but if people find out about this equipment, the whole country will turn against us. On top of that, the cost to maintain the equipment is enormous. You don't really think it's being maintained, do you? Surely this whole project is just some kind of money laundering scheme. What did they say anyway? If one girl dies, the whole village will go crazy at once? What kind of comic book is this? Exactly. Someone actually believed such a childish story and put a huge amount of money into it. Now that's crazy. What's truly ridiculous is that someone actually took these documents seriously. As he said that, he placed the documents down with an exaggerated gesture. Actually, I should say he slammed them down, because the papers ended up scattered all over the floor. You're too right. Excuse me. Need to use the bathroom. One of the men stood up and stepped on the papers. And they weren't the papers on the tatami mats, but the ones on the carpet. Right there, I can see my grandfather filled with heart-rending sadness. Yet he can't let it show on his face. Grandfather's expression didn't change, yet it seemed distorted to me. I could see the walls of my grandfather's study crumpling and twisting behind him. I jumped into the room. I grabbed onto the man's legs. I don't hate him. No, it's not whether I hate him or not. Sure, I hate him, but that's not it. I just can't forgive the feet stepping on my grandfather's article. Don't step on them. My grandfather wrote these. Please don't step on them. Oh, sorry. Those feet are still stepping on the papers. I tried to make them move, but they won't even budge, as if they'd grown roots. So I begged as I grabbed onto his legs. I tried to pull the papers from under his feet, but I can't move his feet. I can't pull out the papers. Don't step on them. Don't step on them. My grandpa's... Don't step on them. My sobbing echoed in that silent room, just like it did back then. Isn't it? Like, that's the tea. I feel so bad for her. Okay, I think we are... Time for Keiichi. At long last. This is the school? This really is the sticks. Keiichi, don't say stuff like that. People in this area love coming here. That was my first impression of the Hinamizawa branch school. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't look like a school at all. It even has a sign that says Hinamizawa Forestry Service. You're right. We're borrowing the building from the Forestry Service, said the man they called the principal as he laughed heartily. Although it doesn't look like it, it is in fact a school. The rules may be a little different from the one you went to previously though. You okay with that? Yes. I heard all the grades are put in the same classroom at the school. I didn't believe it, but I think it really is true. They're all younger than I am, so I guess it'll be like kindergarten. But it'll be interesting compared to my previous school where everyone looked the same age. If you transfer here, you'll be the oldest boy in the class, so you'll have to be a good role model for those younger students. The younger students have the tendency to copy bad habits from the older ones. I'll be keeping my eyes on you too, so make sure you're aware of that, okay? I understand. I'll do my best. Keiichi. What she means is that textbooks aren't the only thing you learn from. As a member of the class, and also as an older student, you have to be a good example. I know that already. After that, Ms. Che brought us to an empty classroom and showed me where my desk would be. Since we're all still growing, I'm sure our sizes are very different. There are some desks that are way too small for me to even put my legs under, and some that are just perfect. There are approximately 30 desks in here, but since all the different grades are in the same room, I'm sure it's very lively. There's also a wall full of calligraphy and art from different grades. It's pretty exciting, nothing like my previous school. Reminds me of the days when I truly enjoyed my school life. Ugh, sorry, I'm like fucking about with audio as we go. Dad, I like it here. I like the school better than the other one in town. I think my son likes it here. I want him to go to this school too. I see. The school in Oklahoma has more resources and better teachers though. Even while saying that, Miss Chia looked happy to hear that a new student would be transferring into her class. My father and the teachers went back to the teacher's office to get the transfer process going. In the meantime, I decided to stay in the classroom and look around. I didn't care about the move. I'd lost the will to live because of what I did. I didn't have any willpower and I couldn't even get out of bed. So when my parents told me about the move, I thought that wouldn't change anything. But after the move, something did change. I want to restart my life. I want to restart my life and become someone I've always wanted to be. Here in Hinamizawa and at the school, I can do that. I'm not going back to who I was. I'll never again think that good grades are the most important thing in this world. Sorry, got distracted there. I have a feeling I can learn the things that are really important in life here at this school. I never had the chance to learn them before now. It's almost embarrassing to put into words, but they're extremely valuable things, and if you don't learn them, you won't become a decent adult. The students at this school learned them a long time ago. To them, they're a given. Yet, I have to spend time learning about them even at this age. How to make friends, how to play with friends, to play. Things you can only learn from play. Things like socialising with others, etc., etc. Seems so easy, but it'll take me a while to learn them. I pushed those things aside and devoted myself to studying. I'm not trying to say studying isn't important, but you shouldn't become blinded by it. Someone says studying and good grades are the most important things in life. They're talking bullshit. So I can restart my life here at this school. Finally, I can become someone I've always wanted to be. I guess it's a really interesting look into like the psychology of who Keiichi was before he came here and why he did what he did, which was pretty shitty if I'm honest. You know. I noticed two girls looking in at me through the window. The schoolyard must also be a playground for these children, because I saw a lot of them playing there earlier. I guess those two noticed me walking around the classroom and became curious. I guess that's natural. I'm a stranger to them. Should I say hello and let them know that I'm starting school next Monday? Finally! We've been waiting for so long. Huh? Oh, this will change things, because Keiichi is the 6 on the die. Yes, he is, but his die rolls are 1 far too often. Oh, that's not Keiichi's fault though. It's all your fault, Hanyuu. It's because of you. Apologise to Keiichi. Oh. Eh? Do you know my name? She said my name, didn't she? Did I hear her wrong? I've never met her before. How come they can all see Hanyuu? Nipa? You a new student? Eh? Ah, nice to meet you. I'm Keiichi Maebara. I'm starting next Monday. Take care of me, okay? Oh, sure thing. Here is a message for you, Keiichi, from the Shrine Maiden of the Frude Shrine. On your first day, be careful when you come through the door to the classroom. Also, there'll be a thumbtack on the back of your chair. There'll be a toy frog on your desk too. But even with this warning, you'll fall for it again and again. Monday is going to be disastrous. Poor Keiichi. That's why it's fun. Why don't you try overcoming that fate sometime? You'll be the one to teach us that. In one of the many worlds, right? Rika creepy. Huh? Fucking pardon? As Curtis Connor would say. I'll be reminded of the prophecy made by the two girls next Monday because of the actions of the Snaggletooth girl. I'll realise it too late though. But I like it here. My name is Keiichi Maebara. This is my new beginning, and this time I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest. I've been missing out on so much, but I'm going to learn all of those things here. I'm going to absorb all of it, and I'll become someone I've always wanted to become. It may take a very long time, but I'll definitely do it. So our next one is an invitation to an end. Grandfather's articles were trying to be gone. We have proof it's clear as the pathogen causing Hinamizawa syndrome, so why can't they believe in its life cycle? Because they've never heard of that before? Because they can't imagine it? Because there's no way something so absurd could be true? Don't tell me that. I can't bring myself to care about the limits of those commoners' understanding. Why can't anyone believe the truth in my grandfather's article, which has been proven by the Uriel Institute? Why do people believe that humans are a special existence? Humans are simply a species of animal. When various parasites that control their animal hosts exist, how can people declare parasites that use humans as their host don't? Wait, this isn't the problem. Not at all. Because everyone believed my grandfather's article up till now. Isn't that why the MOH and the Defence Agency lent me their assistance? But out of nowhere they turned cold. In other words, every bit of their help was because Uncle Koizumi had my back. So nobody actually read it? Did they just pretend to in order to make Koizumi happy? What's the meaning of everything I've done up until today? I thought I'd achieved something, but what have I really accomplished? I don't know what's going on, and all I can do is swallow in grief. The more I think about it, the more I no longer understand the meaning of my own life. Didn't Mio Takano devote her life to being useful for her grandfather? Then I haven't done anything for him at all. Count 3 with my grandfather and I go on to count 4. What a crazy thing to say. No. If I let my mind wander, doubt about myself and my life will slip in. So I'm just going to fill the gap in my heart with alcohol. Eternal news! Isn't it strange to presume the existence of something that can influence... Is it that strange, rather, to presume the existence of something that can influence human thoughts? I don't think it's strange, per se. I think it's really terrifying. I feel like I remember a story of something similar happening. I don't know if it was a parasite. I'm going to have to Google it after this. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to Google it now. Controlling parasites, here we go. I'm sure I read a story or something similar. The answer is definitely, and it's scary. I'm going to read this article that I found later, and not right now. I think it's probably sensible. Can influence human thoughts. It's true that Hinamizawa syndrome isn't the actual cause of ideology. The best it can do is drive people mad. Socialism or capitalism don't originate with it. In the era my grandfather was living in, you couldn't talk about the world without ideology. The article came from that time and age, so some of its influences, maybe, adjusting as I often am, audio, may be exaggerated or biased, but it's no reason to deny its foresight. You can't simply say it's crazy and push it aside. Besides, the most important thing they ignored is the fact that Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier, holds the fate of the village in her hands. My grandfather had predicted the importance and danger of the Queen Carrier since beginning his research on Hinamizawa syndrome. But the hypothesis of the infected community collapsing into madness if Queen Carrier dies is a Pandora's box that can't be proven. It can only be confirmed after Rika Furude's death, and if she dies, it'll be too late. But there's no mistake that Rika Furude is the Queen Carrier, and a very special existence. It's clear from the various experiments we performed that she has a special influence on the infected villagers. Her death really could trigger the collapse of the entire village. That's no mistake. My grandfather predicted it. To say all of that sounds like a comic book, it's just too cruel. For them to call the various preparations we've made to protect our fictional project that was used to tunnel funds, what I'm doing now is simply what my grandfather was going to do. Therefore, insulting my research is the same as insulting my grandfather. According to my grandfather's article, the first thing that needs to be done when researching the syndrome is to protect the Queen Carrier. Sorry, I'm checking a thing super duper quickly. Okay, right. Sorry, I wanted to check something quickly. It's to protect the Queen Carrier. Yet they ridicule that more than anything else. The more I think about it, the more their words stuck in my memory. I can almost hear their voices, and I can't stop myself from covering my ears. I'm sure the members of the board of directors think I'm crazy. I was trying to petition for the Irige Institute not to be shut down, but it backfired. The members must think that Hinamizawa syndrome is some kind of joke, and I'm sure they'll push even harder now to put a stop to our research. If that happens, I'd have to go back to researching as an individual. The same as what my grandfather did. There's a limit to what an individual can do. It's doubtful I would even be able to go back to researching it individually. Once the Irige Institute is disbanded, everyone is obligated to keep it confidential until we die. I signed a contract to that extent. It's not just a simple promise. If I were to break it, a special unit like the Mountain Dogs would come after me to ensure that I keep everything confidential. Even if that doesn't happen, the Irige Institute is to eradicate the syndrome within a few years and to bury every trace of it, including the results of our research. This isn't the normal process of research and treatment. They want to pretend nothing ever happened to begin with. I wanted to continue and complete my grandfather's work, but what's happening now will result in the complete opposite. I'm actually helping to eliminate my grandfather's hard-earned research from this world. A treatment has been created already. Although Rie is as passionate as I am about developing a cure, he is not particularly interested in any other aspect of our research. I hate to admit it, but he has more experience and talent than I do. I'm sure he'll come up with a plan for eradicating Hinamizawa syndrome within 3 years, as requested by the board of directors. And that board of directors will provide just enough funds to bury the syndrome. Irie will do that happily, just like the time when he disposed of all the research data on the test medicine H170 as was requested. All I can do is passively hinder them, just like they did me, while watching the Hinamizawa syndrome get eradicated. And when everything is over, I'll finally complete an article which is destined to be destroyed. Should I kill myself with thoughts of it in my head so I can at least present the article to my grandfather? He won't be happy even if I did that. On the contrary, he'll be disappointed in me for throwing the research he spent half his life on down the drain. He won't embrace me. I know that for sure. Sorry if you just heard me accidentally hit my desk. I wanted to reveal Hinamizawa syndrome to the world. I wanted the world to acknowledge my grandfather's masterpiece. I wanted to carve his name into history and promote him to a god. My grandfather waited, believing that day would come, and he must be patiently waiting still, even after entering his eternal sleep. But I ruined it. I wanted him to become a god. I was going to become a god myself too. Then we'd be together forever, and I'd never have to be alone. If I become a god, God don't test me. There won't be any unhappiness. There won't be a sudden train accident. My grandfather won't go away, nor will Uncle Koizumi. I'll never have to go back to being alone. I am alone. I have no allies. I was just dancing in ecstasy on a stage without anybody watching. I'd only just realised that there was no applause, but only ridicule. It's doubtful that there was actually anyone in the audience to begin with. My parents died, my grandfather died, and then Uncle Koizumi died. 3 times has God toyed with me with the rolls of their dice. I thought I overcame each of those trials with my own strength, but I didn't. I was protected by a new guardian each time. And this time, I have no guardians left to protect me. When I first arrived in Hinamizawa, I had every intention of challenging God and kicking him off his throne. But now, forget challenging God. I'm just a loser being played with. I suddenly can't find it within myself to care about anything. Because if I cared, I'd be swallowed by sadness. Soaking my heart in alcohol is all I can do to forget about everything. A luxurious black car abruptly stopped next to me. I became sober immediately, as cars like that remind me of the time when I was captured after escaping from the orphanage. Suspicious-looking men in black suits and sunglasses got out from the car. I realised it instantly. They must have been sent by one of my clients. Being involved in the development of a biological weapon, being the main person responsible for it, and on top of that being mentally unstable, they obviously don't want me walking around freely. They're going to abduct me, seal me in concrete, and erase my existence, or so I thought. I expected them to grab me and shove me into the car, but surprisingly, they bowed deeply to me instead. Are you the Vice Administrator of the Irie Institute, Major Mio Takano? Normally, yes. I'm just a drunk loser at the moment, though. There's someone who'd like to meet with you. Could you please come along with us? Even if I refuse, you're going to take me along anyway, right? I'll be healed anyway. I can't make my grandfather's wish come true, even if I live. Cynical thoughts like that ran through my head. Then the person in the back seat said, "We won't force you, but I'm sure we can help." I've never met this young woman before. She must be around my age. She knows about the Irie Institute, so she must be somehow connected to my clients. She's too young to be one herself. I bet a client who doesn't want to expose himself sent her. Even if I live, I can't make my grandfather a god. I can't be a god myself either. Who cares about where a loser like me gets killed anyway? getting my heater going because it's gone cold in my room once more. I made up my mind and got into the back seat. Pull up to the baby. I've been listening to the Pride 2014 soundtrack recently, and seeing this car immediately made me think of pull up to the bumper. I can't remember the that one. I can't sing, so I shouldn't have tried. Got into the back seat. As soon as I got in, the luxurious car smoothly took off. Silence filled the car for a time. They're the ones that invited me. I don't have anything to say myself. Long time no see, though I'm sure you don't remember me. We met in passing at Koizumi's funeral. You did? Sorry, I don't remember. There were so many people at that funeral. I can't call any of them. But why is that what she's opening with? Does that mean she belongs to the Koizumi faction? Koizumi was very active as one of the opinion leaders during the post-war restoration. You can't begin to talk about the way the country is today without mentioning his accomplishments. When we were rebuilding the country from the burnt fields after the war, our nation's supporters were united, but unfortunately it's hard to say that now. As our time of peace grew longer, and we started seeing the generation who didn't remember the burnt fields become key national figures, we saw a decline in those who understood the noble intentions we hiccuped with. As the final remaining member of those noble men, Koizumi was the central pillar guiding us to the 21st century. After his death, the Koizumi faction quickly fell. As a result, other factions are extending their influence, leading everything to become quite a mess, right? I heard about these things from Jiro. It's really no different from the Sengoku era. When a lord or military leader died back then, the struggle to become his successor brought chaos to the nation. This country hasn't changed for hundreds of years. Exactly. Unfortunately, while we built Pilsvi Japan into a comfortable place to live, the noble intentions that guided us from the outset have been forgotten. Right now, various factions are fighting in Tokyo over the seat left behind by Koizumi. If Koizumi and the other deceased servicemen ever found out about this, they'd be so disappointed. What does that have to do with me? Aren't you the biggest victim in all of this? I think you've had enough experiences with sudden shifts in the wind, haven't you? It's true that our research began because of Koizumi's support, and the pressures we faced under the anti-Koizumi factions have been tempestuous and cold. Maybe for them, every project that Koizumi left behind is an eyesore, regardless of what it is. In other words, that simply means they rejected the research itself, doesn't it? Come to think of it, something like this happened to my grandfather too. Back then, Koizumi brought authorities from various fields to see him. They talked down to my grandfather, despite the prizes they'd given earlier. Koizumi told me the masterminds were responsible for that. It's not too much of a stretch to say that your research into Hinamizawa syndrome is the #1 leader in terms of funding, organisation, and so forth in terms of projects within the Alphabet Project. Therefore, it's been made into a scapegoat by those people who want to monopolise the interest of the project. A scapegoat? What I mean is that your research into Hinamizawa syndrome isn't what they rejected. What's important to them isn't the content, but the faction leading the project. I wanted to tell you that today. In the end, I'm just a sacrificial goat put up for everyone to see, huh? Doesn't matter what I researched. The only thing they care about is that we belong to the Koizumi faction. That's correct. The faction in control is like the direction of the wind. Sometimes it's a tailwind and sometimes it's a headwind. Unfortunately, once the direction changes, it's not easy to turn it back around. So you're saying it won't be easy to bring my hostile clients back? That's correct. The Alphabet Project has been taken over completely. All of the directors have been replaced, and they're only interested in fulfilling their own desires. From the very beginning, they had no intention of listening to your explanation. I grasped my knees, remembering that humiliating day. Let me change the subject for now. What would you consider the objective of your research, Takano? That is, to fulfill my intellectual curiosity. Isn't it the promise you made with the late Dr. Takano, who you look up to as your grandfather? Well, that's surprising. Koizumi once told me this fact could become a hindrance, so I've never told any of my clients about it. I'm really intrigued by who she is. I cannot work it out at all. How did you find out? If they know that, maybe they know a lot more about us than I think. Where did you hear about that? Koizumi told me. What? We're not your enemies. Please, relax. We're here to help you. I don't know who she really is, but I know she's here because she wants something from me. So what is it that she wants? She knows about the relationship between my grandfather and I, so I can't be careless. But in order for us to help you, we need to have you tell us the truth. We want you to be honest. I don't know what you're trying to say. What is your true purpose in researching Hinamizawa syndrome? To have my grandfather's masterpiece acknowledged for what it is, and to have him become a god. Isn't it to have the world acknowledge the late Dr. Takano's research, and get revenge against those who trampled upon and looked down on the articles your grandfather wrote with all his heart? I'm reaching the limit of not letting my surprise show on my face. How much does this woman know about me? In the first place, who is she? Who is she? How does she know everything I'm thinking? I can't admit that out loud in any case. I have appearances to consider. But while this elegant woman was wearing an angelic smile, she laughed with the devil's seductive whisper, several times better at it than I am. A simple smile and devilish grin are completely different. An ordinary smile meant goodwill, but a malicious smirk means the complete opposite. This woman can read my deepest thoughts, and while doing so, she's testing me to see how honest I can be with her. Whether I tell her the truth or not isn't the issue here. She's testing me to see if I can trust her enough to confess everything. If I completely misunderstood, please forgive me. We'll take you to the nearest train station. That'd be Gogoro, wouldn't it? Well, on the other hand, if what I'm saying is somewhat close to what you're feeling, I think we can help each other. What do you think, Ms. Mio Takano? I can't say anything in reply, but I think that simply remaining silent might also be an answer. I want to hear what she wants from me. I've always phrased my objective as some vague idea of turning my grandfather into a god, but she's just taught me what my true objective is. I want to get revenge for my grandfather's suffering. I want those people to fight over the right to read the article they once trampled on and mocked. I want them to believe, no, to worship every single word my grandfather left behind. That is my true objective. This woman has stated out loud that which I've only whispered within myself. She even asked me if she was correct. Is this woman an angel or a devil? If I'm a human, is she in existence above me? Your misfortune was that you didn't understand your true objective. That's why you couldn't achieve anything. You set an abstract goal like uncovering the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome, which could never be achieved, so you couldn't help but to question the meaning of your own life. Isn't that right? That's wrong. Your actual objective, your earnest dream, isn't so abstract. Can you imagine? Just think of this scene. The true leaders of this nation are all reading your grandfather's article while shocked at While shocked at its contents, they believe all of it without even a hint of doubt. These people humbly read the article with footprints on its back. They express their respect at his insightfulness of his research and tremble in fear at its implications. What do you think? Were you able to imagine it? This is my first time envisioning something like this, and yet it's been my dream all along. Your grandfather is the one who named it Hinamizawa syndrome, yes? That name will echo in every corner of this nation and will be carved into eternity. Carved into eternity, for all time. Indeed, your grandfather's masterpiece will be remembered forever. Isn't that the dream you devoted your whole life to realizing? My grandfather's masterpiece will be remembered forever. Remembered forever. And yet, those pigs you couldn't understand turn your dream into a sacrifice, simply because of factional conflicts of interest. They're even trying to trample it into the ground. Just like how they kept trampling on your grandfather's article. See? You must be full of regret. The data you worked so hard for is indeed the same as the article your grandfather did his best to produce. You can't forgive the people who laughed at it. You can't forgive those pigs who ridiculed your grandfather's masterpiece, right? Aren't I right? Oh, I know I am. But you didn't think about that, because you're so kind as to not know how to condemn people, see? An indescribable emotion is filling me, making me feel like I'm suffocating. The sensation of being cautious and calm, of trust and mistrust, are blending together. My heart is beating fast and my fingertips are shaking. Why am I at peace? Is it because she reminded me of my true dream that I couldn't express with my own words until now? Is it because she made me aware of the anger within myself? Why am I hesitant? Is it because she's reminded me of things I've never told anyone until now? No, those are the things I've never even told myself. Hey, Mio, if what I'm saying isn't wrong, but is in fact completely true, I know I can help you both with your dream and revenge. What's the matter? Are you feeling alright? If that's the case, we shouldn't keep you. We'll take you to the nearest station. No. A small noise leaked pathetically out of my mouth, like a child apologising for a prank. Did you say something? I know she heard me. The woman smiled, trying to make me say it again. That's not it. I'm doing perfectly fine. I'm glad. Let's continue then. If that is in fact my dream, then what can you do? I'll help you with both of your vengeances. One is revenge for your grandfather. We'll make those people who ridiculed your grandfather's article humbly take it into their hands once again, the one they violated. The other is revenge against the board of directors for trampling over your research, simply because of their factional conflicts. Revenge against the filthy pigs who tried to stomp on not only your work, but your life as well. Getting revenge against the board of directors by having them read my grandfather's article. We'll be honest with you too. We're helping you because our interests are the same. We can't allow the project that Koizumi established for the sake of Japan's future be eaten up by these lowlifes after his death. If we had more power, we wouldn't have allowed that scum to become involved at all. However, the wind started blowing in a different direction, and the project could no longer express Koizumi's ideals. It has become a pigsty for them to satisfy their own desires. Koizumi, who gave them the name Alphabet Project, would not have wished for it to remain this way. Pardon me. The project should have been shut down the minute it deviated from his ideals. So you're saying trying to make the sacrificial sheep of the factional conflict into a wolf, are you? Trying to make the, if you choose to keep your grandfather's article hidden away in your heart, then I won't force you. No, I won't let that happen. I don't mind falling to the ground myself, but at least my grandpa, his article. Don't you want to make the article that represents you and your grandfather's lives into something that will last forever? After all, that's your dream, isn't it? That's right. That's my reason to live. We'll give you a chance to make your dream come true. On the night I decided I was a loser in life and drowned myself in tears and alcohol after being abandoned by everything, I met someone who could be an angel or a devil. Is this divine salvation or the devil's seduction? I fought with the board of directors regarding the continuation of our research, but that was completely off target. That wasn't my true goal. My objective isn't to continue researching Hinamizawa syndrome. It's to have the world acknowledge my grandfather's research as a masterpiece. Me to stop having hiccups. Somehow the method for achieving that swap places my objective and caused me to misunderstand myself. The purpose of my life isn't to continue my grandfather's research. It's to get revenge and repay them for his suffering. That's what this woman is saying. She's promising to make my grandfather's research eternal. She's also promising an opportunity to take revenge against those who laughed at it. When Uncle Koizumi died, I thought God was playing dice with my fate, but my unshakable conviction gathered together a power stronger than God's die. So maybe this meeting happened for a reason. Curse you, God. You're testing me again. I will overcome the death of Uncle Koizumi, and I will make my grandfather an eternal existence by taking revenge against the God who tested me. I will, for certain. I will take my revenge. And that leads us on that, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, bombshell. To me, having a massive yawn. To June 1983. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job just lining up the pieces for the month of June. But finally I'm at the starting line, beginning from zero at last. Yet, seeing all these colourful fragments together, I realised just how many sentiments were intertwined around June 1983. I used to think that thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless, but I was wrong. Rika Furude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did two things. One was to get in touch with the Irie Institute, because she knew she'd be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maebara family moved to Hinamizawa. It actually wasn't certain the Maebara family would move here. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to view the properties for sale. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play in that field. It was the trigger for the Maebara family move. Took me so long to find that out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I finally realised that meeting Keiichi's father at that field was the cause. Keiichi Maebara is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He's the fresh air that's powerful enough to break all the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, and also provided me with an important clue by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important in standing up against a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him here. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mion Sonozaki vowed to herself to protect Satoko and Satoshi because she was bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on the night Satoshi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Oryo Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Oryo Sonozaki understood. She herself had come to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it. But she didn't have the power to do so herself, so she entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from outside. That was why the lots went on sale, so the Maebara family could move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Oryo hadn't put the lots on sale, Keiichi couldn't have come. And Reina Ryugu, who provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maebara, was saved by returning to Hinamizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into terminal condition. Keiichi Maebara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Reina Ryugu had a year prior. You think I'm mispronouncing her surname. Maybe that's why Reina was able to understand Keiichi. It's like the miracle where one can recognise moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. The game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game of June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Reina Ryugu makes some extremely important moves on this game board without realising it. The mighty rule Z that surrounds the Holdra siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Satoko overcoming herself was also a big help. The hands met only because they reached from both sides. Keiichi and Reina are the ones who taught me that. Miona's the one who made it possible for them to move here, and she also helped them become familiar with the village. That's not all. Irie is also an important piece with significant functions of his own. Feeling empathy for Satoko, he's the most influential piece on the board we call Hinamizawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Rule X. Keiichi and Reina's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Rule X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Rule X requires the existence of Irie, who has a strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Irie held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded, but he is in fact an important and powerful piece. So if we gather all this power, can we win against Takano's will? I see Takano's thoughts too. Sadly, her will is strong and can't easily be broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 has been so hard to shake, no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards it pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. The weight of our game pieces is different, because I've given up on fighting, while she's been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very light piece indeed. I can't win against Takano with what I have so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer Oishu once showed the possibility of becoming a strong ally, but he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonozaki family caused the death of his dear friend, so until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep throwing the die. Just like Keiichi and Reina constitute a chance to change fate, maybe Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Hinamizawa. A curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet, just like what happened with Satoko. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late, far too late. But if I keep throwing the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? The final rule, Rule Y, involves the evil masterminds who are using Takano as their own game piece. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her, and the only one I can think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takano. The preparation of the game board is complete, but I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. Oof. So we can now do our various fragments. I'm not exiting, I'm hitting save, because this one will be my I'm not sure exactly at what point it becomes I'm not sure exactly at what point you have to like restart the game too. I don't know if I can do like new game, then load the save I just made, skip through all of these in the right order, and then get the final chapter or what. I also don't know how these fragments will play out. So let's hop straight in, all the way back to the start, as Coldplay would say, with Onikakushi. In order for Keiichi to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he needs to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn not to doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know just yet. A slight mistrust goes into paranoia, and Keiichi Maebara is trapped within Rule X. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hanyuu, you didn't have to apologise. In the few days he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral. Tragically, he experienced an outbreak. Oh my god, I've been wondering about that. So at the very start of Onikakushi, it's Keiichi on the train back to Hinamizawa, and he hears somebody on the train apologising repeatedly. And I guess that going to the funeral was the cause for that outbreak. But I think this was necessary as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that though. Okay, and this is the echo to Onikakushi. This game piece is a very important meaning for us, because it showed to us for the first time that it was possible to fuck about with audio even more than I thought already happening. For the first time it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of June 1983. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs this game board, Rule X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from other fragments, which prove we can defeat it. So I guess Rule X is the rule of the Hinamizawa syndrome taking people over. Rule Y is, I guess, Mio Takano's, evil plan. And I don't know what Rule Z is, I haven't worked that out yet. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maebara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as Hinamizawa syndrome and dance and tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it's given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. Kind of really is. What's my phone saying now? My phone is telling me to drink some water before bed. Phone, don't worry, I am. So next it is Watanagashi, Madness of the Twins. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse or the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. And to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. The strings being pulled by external forces, I guess, is Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X and mistaking it for Rule Y, is hurled about, comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Toko Hojo at first, but through this and another piece she learns something important, challenges Rule X, and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. Watanagashi, I think, is one of my favourite chapters because it is so intensely fucked up. It's really, really, it went there, as it were. Okay, that's the answer. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki, who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. Keiichi Maebara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock, and as Mion Sanozaki wished for, he becomes a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sanozaki learns through this piece and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. In that way, maybe Satoko is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she's saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sanozaki learned by gambling her life. But now, I think that it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. I'm still trying to work out these rules. Rule X is very obviously the Hinamizawa syndrome. Right, bear with me, I'm going to have a quick Google, see if there's somebody's explained this. Okay. God bless you, when they cried at fandom.wiki. So, Rule X is that somebody will succumb to Hinamizawa syndrome and be driven to acts of violence. Rule Y is that Takano and Tomitake are always killed on the night of Watanagashi. And usually acts as a catalyst for the paranoia. Okay, and Rule Z is that everyone believes that the Sanozaki family is responsible for the series of mysterious deaths. And it's enforced by Oishi and Takano. Just wanted to check that because I was still trying to remember, like, what those rules were. Okay. It's Tatari Goroshi. And the Hojo family. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko, and reveals the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, all are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gain through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Maebara learnt that through his own experiences. A tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. So one of the major questions that came out of this arc was, did Keiichi actually kill Satoko's uncle, or was he hallucinating it? Because when he goes back to try and dig up the body's gone, and there's that really weird and still, like, creepy scene with the policeman standing around him as he digs up the body, which I suspect is probably all hallucinated, but I don't know. The reason I think it could have been real is that the explanation for where the body would go is explained in another one, where the one where Reina kills her stepmom and his boyfriend and buries their bodies and then goes back and can't find them, and they've been moved by Mion into a safe place. I wonder if something similar sort of happened here in Ari, uncle being killed, but that was a question that was never really answered. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end to this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. It was, I have to say, a really good ending. If I recall correctly, that was the first one that really showed us Takano's actions. I think. Maybe I'm misremembering. It's Himatsubushi, which we've just finished, I think. God, my brain is like sludge. Nope. Matsubushi is our flashback one. There we go. Hauling my brain back into functioning. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Royal Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organisation, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost give up on this game because of its rational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Keiichi Maebara defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We needed everyone's strength, so Akasaka's strength is needed as well. Okay. Sorry. Here we go. This is the recent one. The game piece that uncovers the invisible Roll Y that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because of the impression of that so strong, it's easy to forget something very important. I'm going to check something and hope that I haven't royally fucked up here. Okay, no, I haven't. Cool, we love to see it. It's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rika Furude lamented Rule Z as impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keiichi Maebara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Maebara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction, so what he says is correct. To defeat a conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z, and then challenged the final rule, Rule Y, but we needed more pieces. So we defeated the Rule X of Hinamizawa Syndrome by not letting anyone fall to paranoia, defeated Rule Z of can't break the Sonozaki's power by breaking the Sonozaki's power, but struggling with Rule Y, which is that Takano and Tomitake always have to die. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength around these pieces, led by Mio Takano, were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squished us completely and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts, because we finally found the true culprit and found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or a strong enough will, but Hanyuu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again, with a will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there. We can do it. Let's create the last piece. It'll be the ultimate piece and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Okay. We're going to save here because this is the start to Act 3, as it were.
Let's do it.
After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. And the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They're opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board, and the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Higurashi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule by. Until I get hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain this piece. Time for a final miracle. What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks, just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Matsuribayashi fragment. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furude and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. With some mild interference, an order crackled through the headsets. Turn that down so there's not massive rain pouring in our ears, as it were. All units, the chief has a message for all of you, so listen up. Good work, everyone. The local police have given us 15 minutes to wrap this up, but I'm only giving you a few seconds. Don't let a single person escape. The main target is a diplomat. Don't let him suspect you're a cop, just grab him. But make sure you leave no injuries. It'll lead to problems if you do. They're dirtbags who hide under a diplomatic community to deal with the local gangsters. They launder money from drug dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high-interest debts. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Shitbags. Normally, this would be a simple case, but with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organisation and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request, and the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organisation was going to be selling the self-defence forces classified radar and missile technology secrets. The Public Safety Division had to move on the premise to protect this government-classified information, and today was the day that operation was set to go. 2 men at the front stairs, 2 men at the underground entrance, 4 men at the back door. All suspects are believed to be armed. 2 more than usual, huh? It'll only take 2 seconds more for him. He never shows anyone mercy. Can you hear, Akasaka? You're on point. Be careful. Okay, let's move. This is Akasaka. Copy. Let's go. Forgotten how to do different voices all of a sudden. A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika. I think this is the artwork that I like the most. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him. "This place, members only. Do you have a membership card?" Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card. Akasaka passed the bouncer at the entrance. He's going down the stairs. "Come on, Akasaka." At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overtly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to a den of evil. God, I miss cocktail bars so much. I miss pubs, I miss clubs, I miss cocktail bars, I miss all of it. "Welcome. May I see your membership card?" The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep. An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep, beep. Akasaka's having a problem. Did they change the system? If Akasaka's encountering trouble, we'll change plans. Secure his safety pronto. The expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone and the card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up. "Thank you for waiting. Please, head on inside." The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colourful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door, nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open the door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that. "This is Akasaka. Entrance secured. Commence operation." The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened, and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door too. The ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who'd been pretending to be bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realised that something was wrong. The 3 guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him, and as he sensed that attention shift, he took a quick deep breath and stopped breathing entirely. The 2 guards standing behind him suddenly, rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka had determined his position relative to the 2 guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so, his fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well trained and showed no mercy. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, he'd retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. 2 guards were up in the air in such strange positions, and the man who'd been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterwards came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he desperately tried to remember whether it was a fist or leg that broke his jaw. He'd probably never quite recall it. Luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer. "This is Akasaka. I'm going in." Wait for your backup. Akasaka." The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the brouhaha, good word, at the entrance. Everyone kept down. As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence, but all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once and then stopped it again, and ran after them like a wolf. He jumped up onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and scattering glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent, but Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack, but it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches was so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. The man's arm warped in a strange way, and the moment after the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with the mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man he was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. We've very much gone into like the John Wick-averse or the Kill Bill-averse now. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was wrong, for he was no longer even thinking about the man before him. He knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he'd built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like this would make them move from behind him. His attacks continued fluidly from the left arm punch that he struck against the Xbox zone. His left arm retracted, and at the same time, he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching him from behind. A dull sound signified that its nose had been broken, but Akasaka already knew that. He continued his motion and directed a decisive blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off a bit, rolling on the floor. He took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realised they were up against a demon. Yes, they realised there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of nearly 2 breaths. Put your hands above your head and get down on the floor. If you resist, we'll open fire. Thanks to his furious action, the flow of events was already set. His intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. You shouldn't touch me. It'll lead to an international incident. Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall. Aren't you a policeman? I have diplomatic immunity. I'm a diplomat. Good for you. So how much did you get paid, huh? This will be an international incident. I will be calling the With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall next to the diplomat's head. Various shaking and sound effects later. Pounded the wall. Okay, this is a... Fists were powerful enough to crush the man's head. Diplomat crumbled to the floor. This is Akasaka. Target secured. Further investigations discovered a secret gateway route that even public security didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in that club, they would have escaped, or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired. Come on, hurry! The local police will be here soon. Put them on the truck. Since the foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They dumped the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said Pig was tied to an underground criminal organisation. Not wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with. Akasaka, you okay? Come in, Akasaka. This is Akasaka. We're on our way. You've done it again. Report to the chief to get reamed out later. Akasaka, you sure are a demon. 5 men within seconds? That's not even karate anymore. Your fish should be recategorized as lethal weapons. Sure was lucky that none of them drew their guns, though. Knowing how brutal Akasaka is, he could have turned them into honeycombs. Oh, shut up. Don't make me sound like an assassin. I show no mercy against evil, that's all. Pigs they just caught were no average criminals. They committed so many unforgivable sins. I'm loving this, violent music. Strength behind his fist was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows. Come on, round them up. Akasaka, make him hurry. Local police will get here quickly. This is Akasaka. Understood. Didn't you guys hear? Hurry up. Roger. Command, we have 5 injured here. Please, have meds ready. There wasn't any trace left of Akasaka's old naivete. He'd grown to be the vigilant ace of his department. Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mould. Lovely. The dojo was located in the middle of downtown, in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. Certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. But this was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He'd gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he settled on. Every time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He thought first, developed those thoughts, and then... It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered and the dust welled up in the air. It was a perfect blow, embodying the concept of 1 strike, 1 kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing, as if trying to hear the cry of cicadas, and punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looks like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows. I heard Akasaka works at the police department. Really? Someone like him is a police officer. I don't want to do anything bad. Still, his concentration sure is amazing. He never gets tired. On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo early in the morning, and he silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they're bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve enlightenment, and what we've learned is that there's no one way to reach it, and a path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose. Rumors say that his wife is dead. Supposedly he does karate to forget about that. Really? That's different from what I heard. I heard he couldn't save a girl on the job, leading him to realise his weakness, or something like that. Hey, I can hear you. Quit talking about other people and train. Yes, sir. There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon. Mr. Akasaka, we're going to get some lunch. Can we get you something too? Sure, I don't care what you get. Thank you. Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than to have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building. Shit. The focus dissipated because they were talking about me. But if that happened because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was lighter than before, and the strength in his fist was no longer there. Realising that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air, if just a little. Just as they said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yukie's death. Of course, losing against the suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too, but more than that, the pain from Yukie's death was what made him start. Yukie fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shishibone. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Hinamizawa disaster occurred, he realised something very important. A girl had predicted Yukie's death, and in return she wanted him to help her. Yukie's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Oishi and called him to make sure he was okay. Then found out about everything. When he was called up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was the turning point in his life. If he'd believed what she predicted and did something about it, maybe Yukie wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, but he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything, and she died. Visiting Hinamizawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he'd only listened to what that girl said, Yukie would never have died, and he could have been there to help her. Those two things continued to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa that he heard about from Oishi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster, but it was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience he could muster. He was devoting himself to gaining such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already been done, so in that case, the only thing he can do is train diligently so that if the same thing is to happen again, he'd be able to save the person in need. It's too late. Everything was already over. Yukie died in an accident, Hinamizawa was destroyed in a disaster, and Rika was murdered in a truly gross way while she was alive. Shit. I was too obsessed with Yukie's death and couldn't hear the girl's pleas for help. No, if I'd listened to her, I could have prevented Yukie's accident too. Damn it. Damn it. Shit. As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he never thought of praying to gods in times of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing. Please, please give me another chance to go back to that time. I swear, this time I will save the both of them. At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. It was more like he was losing balance, as if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training and his brain was lacking in oxygen. But he couldn't take his eyes off the shrine. Thank you, Akasaka. We needed your thoughts. Was this a hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him. We must wish for a miracle, and you must wish for a miracle too. Otherwise the miracle will never occur. Unless everyone wishes for a miracle, it won't occur. Unless both sides reach out, their hands won't meet in the middle. He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like it was something very important. Akasaka, if you wish for it, I'll grant you this miracle, and it will be a miracle for us too. Joining these broken fragments will give us the chance to create an even greater fragment. Your resolve on its own might greatly influence everyone's fates and intentions. Can you turn back time to that day? No, I can't do that. The only thing I can do is let you notice. To let you notice the things you can't learn from one fragment, you can learn from others. So all you have to do is return this broken fragment to where it belongs. That's a big miracle itself, though you probably won't even notice it. Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I've spent asking you for help, but finally it reached you. So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No, please help us. I'm gonna save here, and I guess I need to go back to Matsuribayashi now. It was long. It really was long. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything we have that can go up against Akano and her minions in the Game of Fate in the June of 1983? I think maybe we have everything. And last but not least, Hanyuu. It's you. The time you have left to be a police is limited, but that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Shall we begin? I put in hundreds of years just for this moment. Someone once suggested that believing is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win and then bet a coin. But, as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realise that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, she didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She'd been running, trying not to get involved in any type of match because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that meant she was going to lose it eventually anyway. There was something she didn't know. Actually, I didn't know it at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning the game. In other words, the more frightened we are, the more we keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself, but when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance on a scale tips with just a little weight. The big, heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. I didn't help because I was sure it couldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win, so I didn't bet my coin. But that was wrong in me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time, I'd been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was just there to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. To be involved in something is the same as to exist. Therefore, she existed. We're finally at like the actual June now. Okay everyone, homeroom is starting. No more chit chat. Class rep, go ahead. All rise. Bow. Good morning. Sit down. Rattle rattle. It's an ordinary morning. The only difference is that it started a little later than usual. Miss Chia normally arrives in the classroom right away, but she's a little late today. Why was she late for homeroom? Rumours were already stirring about the classroom before she arrived. Miss Chia gave a cue, and a girl peeked in the room timidly. Oh. This is a new student, Hanyuu Furude. She's going to be joining us starting today. Oh, loud. Wow. Guess she's finally like manifesting herself. Voices of welcome, delight, and surprise all mixed together and filled the classroom. Furude? Is she related to Rika? Yes, she is. She's my distant relative. My, that's quite a surprise even to me. I was uninformed that Rika had relatives. Well, hey, this old man didn't know either. Well, the three families are rather complicated. I wouldn't be surprised if I had distant relatives myself. Definitely do, Shion. And Mion even. But she sure does look related to Rika. Oh, what a cutie. She's so cute. Oh. All my classmates had gotten excited. The new girl looked rather intimidated by it all. Rika is rather carefree, but this Hanyuu seems like the complete opposite. She's more like a shy woodland animal. The exact type that Reina loves. Look, see? Reina's ready to swallow her whole. Okay, Hanyuu, please introduce yourselves. Settle down, everyone. Go ahead, Miss Hanyuu. Ms. Chia left the podium and encouraged Hanyuu to take over. I'll have to look at her artwork. She was very cute. Even greater pressure of the silence left her standing there timidly for a little bit. Well, that's understandable. It's nerve-wracking to watch, though. I'm Hanyuu Furude. I'm Rika's relative. Meep. She's my relative. Please be nice to her. Rika can tell she's too nervous to introduce herself. She's right to break the silence. Pressuring her like that isn't fair, which is why I decided to make it more lively. You're called Furude, just like Rika, huh? Now we have two Furudes in the class. Then how about we call her Hanyuu? If we call her Furude, Rika might think we're addressing her, don't you? We generally call each other by our first names here. She's one of us starting today, so we should call her by her first name too. Okay, it's decided. We'll call you Hanyuu. I'm Mion Sonozaki, the class president. Call me Mion, okay? Oh, I'm Satoko Hojo. Very pleased to meet you, Hanyuu. I'm Daki Tomita. My parents run a tow shop. Please come by any time. I'm Suguru Okamura. Please ask me if you don't know anything. Hello, let's be friends, okay? What grade are you in? Our classmates fell over each other trying to introduce themselves. Everyone tried to get her to remember their name so they could be friends. A friendly atmosphere swelled in the room. I've only just transferred recently myself, but this is exactly how it was on my first day too. I remember how nervous I was and how much I appreciated this as a result. I know more than anyone how nerve-wracking it is to be a new student. I should look after her. I agree. We'll have to help her blend into the class quickly. Right, you were a new student last year, huh? Were you nervous on your first day too? Yep, but Mion and the others were so nice to me that I got used to the class pretty quickly. Well, yeah. To welcome a newcomer to the village is one of the 3 families' important duties. You mentioned the 3 families when it suits your purposes, but it's true that you will help me get used to such a different environment. In that case, doesn't that mean it's your turn to look after her, Keiichi? I thought so too. Reina was a new student, but she looked after me when I got here, so it's my turn to look after the next new student. A new student always dramatically changes the atmosphere of a class. Even my attitude has changed. We decided to gather around Hanyuu during lunch break. Okay, remember, you can only ask Hanyuu 1 question each, okay? Why don't we ask her some personal questions so we get to know her better? See who'll be the first to go. What's your favourite food? I like sweets. My favourite kind of cream puffs. Oh, that's so wonderful. I love cream puffs too. Fuck, I just realised I'd given Hanyuu and Toko the same voice, so I'll have to come up with something new for her. So bad at this. There's a very good sweet shop in Oknomiya. I'll take you there sometime. Okay boys, did you all hear that? If you want Hanyuu to like you, get her some cream puffs, okay? Not the cheap ones though, get her something expensive. Let's see, who's next? There's no one else? I'll ask something rude. Oh. Everyone kept asking Hanyuu questions and she looked all panicky again. I guess this is like a traditional ceremony for a new student. I remember this is exactly how my first day went. Mion, Satoko seemed amused, so it must be the same for them too. I noticed Reina watching the scene before her with a distant look in her eyes. She's probably remembering her first day too. You remembering what it was like? Eh? Yeah. Were you thinking about something else? You aren't thinking about taking Hanyuu home, are you? Oh, no way. I'm not thinking that, since Hanyuu likes cream puffs. And since I have some good cream puffs at home, that she should come over or anything like that. Oh, I'm taking her home with me. If she doesn't come to school tomorrow, it will be your fault, Reina. Oh, that's mean. As we watched Hanyuu and our classmates have fun, Reina and I laughed together. Hey, Keiichi, sure is great, huh? Yeah, it is. It's great to meet a new classmate. Not that. I mean, I think I've seen her a few times before. Hanyuu? Maybe you saw her when she and her family came to look at the area before they moved here. You sure have a good memory, Reina. It's not like that. Hanyuu's been here for a long time. She's been right beside us all the while, watching us play together, for ages now. Huh? Is it just me? Didn't you notice, Keiichi? I haven't seen her before. So you were saying you met her before, Reina? From what I can see, this is the first time Mion and Satoko have met Hanyuu. But she's been that close to us, like Reina said. It's impossible that none of us would remember her. Are you sure? Besides, Hanyuu is a transfer student. She couldn't have been here in this village that often. Do you think so? I swear I've seen her pretty often. You definitely have, Reina! Must be your imagination. Even Hanyuu just said she was living far away before she moved here. But I've seen her before. How? Reina looked like she was trying to remember more. It's probably one of those deja vu experiences. Although it's the first time you see something, it feels like you've seen it before. Well, forget about it. She's here now, right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. She always seemed so eager to join us, so I'm glad she's one of us now. Reina smiled with tears in her eyes. When I looked over at her, Rika was wearing the same expression. It made no sense to me why those two looked that way, but as soon as Satoko came over and pulled a prank on me, I forgot all about it. I'm so glad. So glad for Hanyuu. She's so cute. Just nearly knocked my orange juice all over the floor. See you later. These are the words that signal the best time of the school day. As soon as last period ended, my classmates ran out the room. Hanyuu was popular all day today. She's Rika's age, so all the lower grade students gathered around her. All the students like me and Mion didn't have a chance to get close to her. Well, I'm sure they'd rather have a new student who's their age than a scary looking older guy. That's right, you looked so scary at first, Keiichi. It's probably because you were nervous. Hey, that's mean. I was trying to be friendly so I could get along with the class. You were far from friendly. You slapped me upside the head on your first day, Keiichi. Don't you recall? It's because that's how I was treated on my first day. There was a thumbtack on the seat of my chair and even a frog in my desk. We heard there was a new student in the teacher's office, so we went to take a peek. We saw you there and you looked so nervous that Stoko must have thought she had to do something to help you relax. Oh, as your elder, I was being considerate, you see. It's impossible. Although that blackboard eraser trap sure did help to ease my tension. But Stoko will be so pleased with herself if I tell her that, so I'll never admit it. Hanyuu must have gone home with everyone else. I'm sure she's still popular even after school. Still, your first day at a new school is always exhausting. I'm sure she'll sleep very well tonight. I'm quite sure too. Oh. Okay, everyone, it's been a while since I've been busy with work quite a bit lately. It's time for a club meeting. I wonder where Hanyuu is gonna sleep. Assuming that Sateko is staying with Rika. Question mark. I've been waiting for this. It's been so long that I've gotten rusty. Meep. I've been bored because I haven't rubbed a loser's head in a while. Oh, I won't lose. I won't be holding back just because it's been a while. You sure have pent-up frustrations, huh? Great. Makes things even more interesting. Everyone's motivated, huh? Better watch out. I'm in top form today. Mion, you're going to wish you went to work instead. Mion's had to work quite a bit lately because her uncle's shop is short on staff, so we haven't done any club activities for a long while. For us, club activities are the main reason we come to school. In a way, we live for these few hours after school. There are no club activities, there's no point coming here at all. So it only makes sense for us to be excited about getting to have a meeting again. I guess none of us will be satisfied with an ordinary game. What should we play? Mion looked into the club locker. I'm always curious about what's in that locker and how much of it there is. I swear there's more in there than it can realistically hold. Locker of holding, eh? Just then we heard the door open. Oh, Hanyuu. Hello. What are you doing here? Did you forget something? I thought she'd already gone home. Did she forget her lunchbox or something? It's not that big a deal to forget a textbook, but you can't forget a lunchbox. Hanyuu, what is it? Are you looking for something? Hanyuu looked at us apologetically. What is it? Are we in the way? She kept staring at us timidly. We sitting in her seats? No, that's not it. What is it, Hanyuu? Can we help you? Can we? Oh. Reina talked to her, but there was no communication to be had. Almost like trying to have a conversation with a stray cat. What is this? Hanyuu was fixated on something. I followed her gaze and found Rika. Hanyuu's apologetic gaze was directed at Rika. Meep. Oh. I won't say anything. If you want it, you need to say it yourself, Hanyuu. Oh. With that, I finally figured it out. Hanyuu wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to say it, so she wanted Rika to say it for her. But Rika said to say it herself. In other words, we needed to listen to what she has to say. We patiently waited for her to speak up. But when I think about what happened this morning, I realise this kind of silence makes it even more nervous. Reina, noticing that, talked to her in their sweet tone of voice. What is it, Hanyuu? Can you tell me? I'll help you. Oh. What is it? Can you say it one more time? Oh. Sorry if you can hear the fire engine outside. Hey? Reina raised her voice. What? Let this old man know too. What is it? Are you sure? What could it be? Please share it with us all. Well, I want to join your club. Eh? Hanyuu said it loudly, as if to shake off her embarrassment. Now that's a surprise. Where do you hear about us? Oh, I want to join. I want to join your club. Very good. You did a great job. Clap, clap, clap. Rika must have known that Hanyuu wanted to join the club all along. Mion folded her arms with a smile and stared at Hanyuu as if appraising her. Needless to say, Hanyuu was intimidated. I would be too, TBH, be honest. Awfully reckless, jumping into mortal peril by choice. But our club isn't just any old club. Only a select few are allowed to join, and that's only after passing a gruesome trial. Just because you want to join doesn't mean you can, you know? Look, Hanyuu, Mion's club might look fun, but, you know, it's not that easy. I already know that. You have to win, otherwise you don't know what might happen. You sure you're aware of that? I won't lose, but besides... Hanyuu swallowed once and said what was on her mind. It sounded like a big thing to say for her, as if it had a much deeper meaning. I used to hate to lose, so I always ran from every game, but running away is even worse than losing. I can win only if I continue to fight, despite the pain of failure. That's something I've learned. Hanyuu. When Mion realised that, although she looks timid, Hanyuu was actually very courageous, she grinned. It looks like she's grown fond of her. Well, well, she's got guts. How about it, Mion? Why don't we let her try, huh? Did I take the entrance exam? It usually takes more than a few weeks to determine if one is even qualified to take the exam, yet she wants to take it on her first day. What should I do? Mion pretended to be stubborn, but in reality she was simply playing with her. If she actually didn't want her to join, she would have refused it right away. Of course, if Hanyuu was bothered by this kind of intimidation, she wouldn't be able to survive in this club. Just like Reina and Satoko said, our club is relentless. Winning should be your utmost goal. Always aim for first place, and if you come in last, you wish you were never born. I'll do my best. The punishment for losing is actually kind of fun too. Hanyuu, you've been watching the whole time, huh? You've been wanting to join for the longest time, huh? I got the feeling that Reina had just mumbled something like that. Come on, Mion, let her try. I got in by going through that too, you know. Quite true. Let us see what Hanyuu is made of. Have fun, Hanyuu. I won't hold back, okay? I won't hold back either. I'll only give you my best, Hanyuu. Oh. Very well. Hanyuu Furire, you're on. You're allowed to take the entrance exam. Okay then, we'll have to choose a game that Hanyuu knows how to play. What would be good? Oh, what about this? Mion threw a deck of cards onto the desk. Does this mean we'll play a game that everyone knows? How about Old Maid? Oh, that's fine. Here she goes. This is exactly what I had to endure when I went through this entrance exam. This is the marked tile deck. Oh, it's a very enthusiastic response. However, our club's version of Old Maid is a little different, no? Most of the cards have scratches on the back, so by memorising the scratches, you can tell what card it is. In other words, the more you play this game, the better you are at it. This is simply our way of being mean to newcomers. Hanyuu, you can do it. This is a trial. Oh. Go for it, yay! Sure brings back memories. I had to go through this too. Just happened recently, but I still feel so nostalgic. However, doesn't mean I'll go easy on you. Just like how merciless they all were when I did the exam, I put everything I've got into this. Right, everyone? Prepare yourself, Hanyuu. Here we go. If you want to join, let us see what you've got. Roger. Still, I need to work out voice for her. There's too many characters in this game. Ooh. I'll call your hand from the right, okay? Ace, 3, 4... Stop this. Ace, 3, 4, 7, Jack and Queen. It's too late to hide now. Oh. Sorry, Hanyuu. This is the Ace of Spades, right? I'm out. Haha. Do you get it, Hanyuu? This is the entrance exam for our club. I'm going to turn the sound effects volume down. I'd really like it if there was a way to, like, turn down the screen shakiness, but oh well. Meep. Keiichi is putting his leftover grudge from his own entrance exam into this game. Come on, Keiichi. You sure you should be saying things like that? Hanyuu, take Keiichi's card on the right. That's what you need to win. Ow, I'm done. That's not fair. Okay, I'm dead serious now. How dare you make me mad? Hanyuu, do you want to go home and... My. I think you'd look better in them, Kate. You'd look better in them, Keiichi. Yes. And I'm going to take him home with me. I'll make him do that punishment. That's a great idea. I'm in too. Why are you picking on me, huh? Fine then. I'm going to make all of you do it. Insert various sound effects here. Okay, this is the banquet section. Can you hear me? One more speech and then we'll move on to a toast. You ready? This is the back end. We're ready. We can't hear anything from inside, so please give us a cue when the speech is finishing up. 10 bottles per table, okay? Make sure you serve your tables smoothly. Young waiters with bow ties got bottles of beer ready for a toast. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people are sitting at each table, so at least a few hundred people there. The banquet room is teeming with excitement. There are many plates with different kinds of food on each table. A sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter, and along the wall there are cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi. All the guests appear to be well-mannered gentlemen, and obviously they're notable people from different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly tells that this hotel holds a status good enough for those famous people. An elderly gentleman is giving a long speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast. But the guests are actually excited with his speech. Well, maybe fervour was a pleasant way to put it. Probably more accurate to say their excitement was bizarre. Anyway, Japan accepted the demand for unconditional surrender, and the day they did, the Pacific War ended. In other words, even if they had to take care of further business, the war ended that day according to international law, and from that day on there was peace. Therefore, if any troops invaded Japanese land during that peace, that would be an encroachment against Japan. No matter what the Soviet Union says, the Northern Territories are Japanese land, and it should be clear to everyone that they invaded illegally. Hear, hear. And now they want to settle by returning a mere 2 islands to us? Who do they think they're kidding? I love reading about islands like that are like split down the middle between countries. There's one that's split between like half of it is Japan and half of it is Russian. And it's like one of the most remote bits of Russia because of that. Pretty cool. Listen. Habamai, Shikotan, Kunashir, and Ituro are Japanese territory. The total area is equal to an entire prefecture. What do you think if the Soviets invaded and occupied one of our prefectures? Would you settle for just getting half of the prefecture back? No, you wouldn't. You'd have the entirety returned to you. Yet the Soviets are brazenly sitting there claiming vested rights to the land. Remember that this is set in 83, when the Soviets still existed. This is no joke. We must strongly oppose this to the bitter end. Return all the Northern Islands. Our nation must demonstrate unwavering resolve on that point. Thunderous applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt the same way by cheering him on. In all that hubbub, there were 2 people standing by the wall who didn't seem to fit in with the rest. They were wearing sharp-looking suits, and while a little too old to be called young men, were certainly young compared to all the elderly gentlemen in the banquet room. Why do politicians always tend to lean right or nationalist, and be so partisan? That's simple, but politicians want most of votes, and votes are cast by the constituents, but not everyone over 20 actually votes. Voter turnout is highest amongst those who are retired and have free time, so the elderly interested in politics monopolise the votes. And that means the key to their election is whether or not they can secure the elderly vote. War only happened 40 years ago. In other words, the generation that's interested in voting is the generation from before the war. My mother talks about air raids often. She used to live near Suidobashi, and she lost all of her family in an air raid. She had to walk across the burnt fields all alone. That's right. Our parents went through the war. They shed their blood, sweat and tears, believing it was for the good of the nation. So did my grandma, actually, and my grandfather as well, I think, both on the English side. We lost the war, but they believe the war still brought about change that serves as a foundation for the peace we have today. I hear that a lot, that if Japan hadn't fought in the war, the Asian countries would still be Western colonies. There was no way we could have won, but we needed to fight the war or something like that. In that case, no matter how much they preach pacifism, politicians can't ignore the pre-war generation. War is bad and we should never again fight it, but that war was necessary. Unless they say things like that, it's like they're denying the very lives that the generation lived. You see, politicians have to work hard to earn votes, huh? It'd be one thing if they were truly proclaiming their own beliefs, but many of them are simply saying that to get elected. As long as there are politicians trying to win over what remains of the pre-war generation, this country's post-war era will never end. That's how the ghosts of the war will pass their will on to the next generation, and keep things for the next millennium. Got distracted by this song that's got like lyrics in the background. They'll just keep repeating the war that was justified, yet regrettable every time an election takes place. When will our country ever be freed from that cycle? It's simple. Young people need to vote. Don't be fooled by war stories. Vote for those actually pushing policies. Realistic policies, that is. Yeah, there are a few who talk about some pretty unrealistic things. Akasaka, isn't that the F table? There she is. Let's go. The speech had ended, and the elderly gentlemen were giving the man on the stage a standing ovation. The two men walked through the crowd and approached an old lady in a kimono. Yes, that would be me, but who are you? I made an appointment with you on the phone yesterday. I'm Akasaka. Oh. My husband works so hard for this country. Even so. Madam, I understand what you're going through. This wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Nobody could remember if there'd been a donation or not, so a handful of politicians were questioned. As a result, some came up with a scheme to blame a sickly, elderly man who'd already retired. With only a short time to live anyway, he was a perfect fit for them. The elderly man had already been sick in bed, and the shock of his friends betraying them had taken away his will to live. The only thing his wife could do was simply watch him suffer. She kept crying while telling the men about her husband's achievements. If your husband is in fact innocent, a judge will rule accordingly. Don't worry, false accusations will be cleared. I already know that, because he's innocent, but he won't live to see the verdict. He worked so hard for this country, and this is what he gets in return at the end. How can he rest in peace? Akasaka nodded and tried to find the right words to say to her. His colleague rummaged through a pile of paperwork behind him. The papers were filled with fine print, and it would be hard for an onlooker to tell exactly what they were. However, the way he was looking at them made it very clear that they contained something important. Akasaka, this is amazing. This records exactly how the money was moved. Akasaka gave him a signal to remind him that this wasn't the place to be looking through those documents. Madam, there isn't any more paperwork, is there? No, that was the only thing in his safe. Please, use it to get back at those ungrateful bastards. My husband did so much for them, and yet they... Madam, you do understand that some things in these documents will implicate him, don't you? I understand that. One can't be honest all the time when one is a politician. I am his wife, after all. Thank you for your cooperation. I will use this to expose the injustice that was done to him. One thing. May I ask you just one thing, though? Could you wait until my husband passes away before making this public? The paperwork Akasaka received was something her husband intended to take to the grave with him. Something that shouldn't exist in this world. If it went public, her husband's name would be disgraced. Akasaka nodded. I understand. You have my word. Vast public funds were moving from Kasumigaseki. The funds were issued to sub-branches to carry out national policies. But various ideas over those public funds always came together, and there was never an end to those trying to poke a straw into it to suck it out like a mosquito. Excess dividends, cordial patronage, profits for organisations that benefited themselves. Many financiers approached and adhered to officials and politicians, hoping to earn those gains. And the bureaucrats constantly indulged them. That's how Japanese corruption works. These illegal pipes form bypass after bypass in Kasumigaseki, siphoning off public funds for their own profit. To find and destroy such pipes is, of course, in the national interest, but eliminating legal expenditure isn't as simple as all that. There are important people connected to those pipes, and when those people are investigated, a major political scandal takes place. The reason why the government doesn't investigate such illegal expenditures is not only to protect the vested interests, but because they're conscious of the damage the scandals can cause politically. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing past that wound to grin. The closer the exposed subject is to the top, the greater the pain faced by the government, and that affects the cabinet approval rating. The closer the subject is to the core, the more extensive the damage to the heart. The secret investigation Akasaka was leading went as close to the heart as it got, and could cause the collapse of the administration from shock. Akasaka was tipped off that a huge amount of public funding was leaking out through an alumni organisation at the 7 Imperial universities, so he and his colleagues had been conducting a secret investigation into the matter for a long time. His target was tightly knit, but he learned the wife of one of the organisation's senior members bore strong resentment towards them after her husband was made their scapegoat and managed to contact her. Because of that, he got his hands on extremely important information. Good work, everyone. We've almost gathered enough proof. What Akasaka brought us is particularly shocking. You must have worked hard to get it. Great work. Thank you. The small meeting room is filled with boxes that were in turn filled with documents. A whiteboard was filled with cramped writing too. A few of the investigators in the meeting room, which was filled with smoke, were reading the documents intensely. Their intimidating manner clearly indicated that they were police officers with a great deal of experience. Akasaka was one of those men. Every time I read something like this, it makes me want to reread the Walanda series of novels, which had a similar sort of politic-y, subterfugery, often politic, not always, but often politic-y, subterfugery feel to them, which was very good. It had been a while since Mamoru Akasaka was transferred to this department. When he worked on the case of the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson, he'd been a rookie, but by now he was an experienced investigator. After a knock on the door, an elderly man entered the room. Everyone straightened up all at once. "Sir, thank you for stopping by." "Thank you. You don't need to stand. Relax. I brought a wonderful gift for you all today. Colonel, you get to go to your son's Parents' Day meeting after all." The meeting room was filled with sighs, tinged with exasperation and resignation. Certainly wasn't because any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day. "I knew it. I thought it was about time. Shit." Akasaka's colleague complained. They'd been so close to getting to the root of this issue. They had such strong evidence. Akasaka, on his part, wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in the past, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. The new department was supposed to continue the investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above. Damn it. What about everything we've worked so far? It was just to see how much it would hurt to push out the pus. They realised it'd be too painful, so they decided not to treat the wound. In that sense, the hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleagues weren't yet mature enough to understand. Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this. He felt frustrated with his superiors who'd hesitated to expose the truth, but he was mature enough to know not to say that out loud. "We'll organise what we have and hand it over to the other end later. Anyway, since you haven't had a day off for a long time, you don't have to wait until 5 o'clock to leave today. Please, go home and get some rest. We'll talk about what's left to do tomorrow. Don't forget to use up your vacation time too. Make sure you take a vacation and give a treat to your spouses. Please, come with me. That will be all." "Yes, sir." There was long, secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth with its resolution. He managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived. "Well, guess we'll do as he says. Everyone go home and get some rest. If you go home that early, you might find out your wife is having an affair, you know. Dumbass, you don't know anything. Akasaka and his wife are madly in love. Calls her every night from a public phone in a different building. I envy you, Akasaka. My wife is pretty cold." Akasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered the documents in his hands. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures of the Alphabet Project, the research team for the next generation of hardware, and the Defense Agency. It was entirely possible this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funding those illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Akasaka's eye. He picked it up, looked at it, and tried to remember. It was a list of people who illegally received public funds. It was also a list of retirees who were very much still in love with money. There should have been no connection between those people and Akasaka, but there was one thing that caught his attention. Irie Clinic. As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced. So it was a money laundering scheme. In a sense. But in the sense that Hanyuu was completely ignorant of it. So I guess like the reason that she's being supported in inverted commas getting her revenge is because it allows the scheme to continue for the Koizumi faction, I guess. Yes, the Irie Clinic. When he was working on the case of Minister Inukai's grandson's abduction, he got into a scuffle with the suspects and became injured. He was taken to the local clinic. As he recalled, the name of that clinic was the Irie Clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burnt into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. His daughter was about to be born, and he really didn't want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Oishi, who taught him a lot of important things. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was, yes, Rika Furude. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? As he remembered her lovely smile, he remembered the ominous prediction she'd made. She'd predicted that if he didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he'd remembered Yuki, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her, but he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told us something would happen.
Come on in, Chuck. Come on in.
Hello, nom nom. Thank you very much for the raid. It's very much appreciated. I hope you are doing well. We are in the hello, Rika Maibara. We're in the final bit of Matsuribayashi. No worries. Yeah, definitely. We're like right at the end of it, so definitely spoiler alert here. Well, I'm intrigued to see how they're adopting this into the manga. Oh, I love those emotes. They're so good. Excellent. Anyway, hello. How are you? I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you. Take care. Have a good evening. Yuki had laughed and told him he was being paranoid, but that phone call indeed had saved her from calamity. Akasaka had found out about that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo. A few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterwards that Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day, but because of his phone call, she'd stopped doing it. If he hadn't called her, she would have been the one to step on the loose tile. In other words, Rika Furude's prediction had been correct. There was no proof, but Akasaka still believed that he was able to save Yuki only because of her prediction. He'd intended to call and thank her for saving Yuki, but the busy days that followed it put it out of his mind. Fair. I do like Akasaka as a character, I have to say. Rika. He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling. Akasaka remembered the sad prediction she made on that night under the moon, while still wearing that smile. That's right. She'd said something. She predicted someone would get killed on the night of the festival every year, and on that 5th year, she'd be the one to get killed. That's right, he thought. She did say that. 5th year. That's this year. Festival is... That's right, it's in June. If you remember correctly, it happens on the last Sunday of the month. Akasaka looked at the calendar. It was, as we know, June 1983. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who'd predicted Yuki's accident had also prophesied a mysterious incident would occur annually for the next 5 years. They'd actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Akasaka wondered if Oishi was still at the Okonomiya PD. If the annual incident she predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he can confirm if Rika was going to be killed or not with a phone call to Oishi. The girl who predicted her own death had muttered that she didn't want to die. Muttered? No. It was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless, bizarre traditions of a village she couldn't escape had sought help from him, an outsider. It's definitely one way of looking at it. She paid his reward in advance, in the form of foreseeing Yuki's accident. He had to get to her. He had to go save her. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he'd finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go to Hinamizawa. He had to save the girl who'd asked him for help. Hello, Okonomiya PD. Hi, is a Corrado Oishi still working in your investigation department? If he is, may I talk with him, please? Excuse me, may I ask who's calling? Could you tell him it's Akasaka from the police headquarters? Oishi was a very lively person, but he'd been old even back then. Maybe he'd already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he'd since retired. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh. Mr. Oishi, there's a phone call for you. Someone from the police headquarters in Tokyo. Tokyo? Who could that be? Hello, this is Oishi. Uh-huh. Oh my, and how have you been? Funky music. Just mentally like the first miracle. No new tips? Ah, just a scream. Right. Don't know how many chapters there are. We've got 25 minutes left. Let's keep going. I don't know if I'll be able to finish the next chapter, but I shall certainly give it a try. Hanyuu was already grown used to being around us. Since Rika and Satoko are her age, Jesus, I've forgotten how to speak, she's become especially close with them. Of course, Reina and Mion are looking after her too. Reina told me something the day Hanyuu joined the class. She said that Hanyuu had been very close to us for a long time, and that she's been watching us play, that she always wanted to join us. I still can't remember seeing her before, but somehow I can believe it. Hanyuu has accepted all the things that surprised me at first, as if she knew about them all along. She knows everything about us, and it seems she's truly excited about finally being able to join in. She's also so cute. Hanyuu's definitely a part of our group now. She sure is. It almost feels like she's been one of us the whole time. That can't be true, though. No, it is. She's been by our side all this time. Are you saying that now too? Reina told me that a couple of days ago. Is it just that I didn't notice? It's because you're dense, Kichi. Me. Fine, so what if I'm dense? Oh, why are you two sitting down? You tired? You never feel tired, Hanyuu. Meanwhile, we're exhausted. It's because I've waited so long to be able to play with you all. This isn't nearly enough. I want to play more and more. Ow. You're full of energy. And by the way, those things on your head, don't they fall off when you play? Ow. Hanyuu has horns on her head. This is the most unbelievable part to me. I thought it was a hair accessory of sorts, so I didn't want her to lose it while playing. I was going to offer to hold it for her while she ran around. But Hanyuu's face clouded over and she apologetically held onto the horns. Kichi, Hanyuu can't take them off. Eh? I see. Sorry about that. Oh, is it strange to have horns? Not at all. I think it's cute. Yeah, Kichi even has... Not reading that one out loud. I love Reina so much. Ow. Reina's punch is still the one thing I can't follow. Are you quite alright, Mion? There's a depression in your face. Everyone laughed except Hanyuu, who didn't seem to get it. I shouldn't have said anything. I bet she doesn't like to talk about them, but if I try to apologise, I think things will get even more complicated. As I thought about what to say, Reina took the girls over to the shrine gate. Don't worry about it, Kichi. Hanyuu tries not to let it bother her, but she hasn't had enough training. Meep. So she doesn't like to talk about them, huh? Sorry, I'll be more careful. Hanyuu came to Hinamizawa a very long time ago. She did? No wonder she knows so much about the village. I don't know where she lived before she came here. I asked her once, but all she said was it was a place I wouldn't understand. Hanyuu said that or rather, Hanyuu's people couldn't live there anymore. They looked for a new place to live for a long time. They travelled a very long way before arriving in Hinamizawa. There was a beautiful swamp in the area, and that was exactly what her people were looking for. But there was a village nearby where people lived. To show respect to the original inhabitants of an area was law amongst wandering people like Hanyuu's. Her clan decided to live peacefully and coexist with the villagers. However, their attempts to coexist didn't go so well. The villagers were too childish and immature to accept these newcomers. They strongly rejected them and caused a terrible, tragic disaster. Hanyuu said she took their form and descended upon this land in order to subdue the disaster. However, she just couldn't hide her horns. The forbidden ancient documents say that Hanyuu descended into the Furude shrine, appearing as she does today. It also states the following, that Hanyuu's people can't live anywhere other than this village. They can also only live by coexisting with the villagers. The Furude shrine priest once rejected them, claiming that coexistence was impossible if mixing with the wandering people's blood caused the villagers to become demons. But the young heir of the Furude shrine fell in love with Hanyuu, and when the child was born, the priest had to reconsider. O wandering people who cannot hide your horns, if you wish to settle in this land, if you wish to settle with our blood, then I shall consider granting your wish. However, as the demon's blood mixed with the villagers, it became hard to tell who was human and who was demon. The villagers began to cast suspicion on each other, haunted by that paranoia. Unless all of that was resolved, coexistence would be impossible. For you and us to coexist, we must lay down several laws for us to follow. They'll be very strict. I'm very sorry for imposing these upon you who have lived in peace until now. However, as long as those rules are followed, the village will be free from demonic disaster. Very well, the rules will be followed, but much blood has already been shed in the village. The anger, sins, and corruption people bear cannot be cleansed. The one law of the human world is that sins are returned for with life. I see. If you say it's a way to let someone take on all responsibility and bury the sins with them, then we'll do that. However, wouldn't people end up pushing responsibility onto each other because nobody wants to die? Exactly. That's the ugly demon in the world of man. No one will accept their own sins, but foist them onto each other. Since they can only clear the balance with their lives, everyone refuses to pay and the sins just keep adding up. Without cleansing them, they stagnate and people cast them upon each other forever, doubting each other and passing them around. I'm really intrigued by the fact that like so much of what's happening in the story is being explained by real world politics. And then there's also like this that happened in the past. If that is the unopposable law of this world, and you yourselves are troubled by this law, then in exchange for coexisting with us, I shall grant you a world where people do not blame their sins on each other. What kind of world is it? So long as mankind exists, they'll commit sins that give rise to corruption. How could all that be erased without foisting it onto someone else? Let me bear all the sins and corruption born from man, and purify my soul. Let all sins rest not with man. If they're born upon myself, then man will not need to force them on each other. What are you saying? Are you really going to make yourself into a sacrifice? Someone has to take on the sins, otherwise they won't be cleansed. That's the law of your world, isn't it? A different ancient document also states the following. Of course, it's a forbidden one too. Only the head of the Frude Shrine is allowed to read it. Nobody else. Not even the other heads of the 3 families. It tells that unrest grew in people's minds, that the villagers' evil hearts collected in the swamp and gave rise to demons. The Frude Shrine's priest explained that the root of all evil is the demon god of the swamp, and led the young villagers there. By the swamp, they found a demon mocking the unrest in people's hearts. The young villagers fought bravely, captured the demon, and dragged it to the Frude Shrine. The priest cleansed the demon god, opened chopped them up and washed them down the stream, then threw the body in the swamp. Then people regained their sanity. Those who'd been suspicious of each other became friendly, and they all shared in the joy of peace again. If these forbidden ancient documents are real, then the object of the villagers' worship, Ayashiro-sama, was captured by the villagers, forced to bear all their sins and torn to death. Plus, it's clearly written that the demons appeared after unrest grew in people's hearts. In other words, the demons were forced to bear the sin of discord that rested with man long before they arrived. Ayashiro-sama was a god who took on people's sins to mend conflicts between them. People eventually came to honour her, and it's said that became the foundation of faith in Ayashiro-sama. I don't understand exactly what that means, but I know one thing. When none of us humans would draw the losing straw, she offered to draw it in our stead. To prove it, we cleanse our filth by letting cotton absorb it and drift it down the stream during the Watanagashi festival. There's no shame or shifting of responsibility involved. Until that system was created, we were simply demons who pushed our filth and our responsibility onto each other. We could only cleanse our sins by blaming someone else and sacrificing them by cutting open their abdomen. And Hanyuu took on that job. A purification ceremony without a human life. A system that forgives people for their sins. That is the origin of the cult of Ayashiro-sama, which blames not people for their sins, but the curse. Those documents were sealed away. If they weren't, people would find out that the object of their own faith was falsely blamed and killed by their own ancestors. Hanyuu apologises. She takes in people's sins and keeps apologising. When people can't deal with their own sins anymore, she accepts them. When Hanyuu takes over, people are cleansed and they're allowed to keep living. Demons take on sins by becoming cotton to absorb them. Then they are exterminated and washed down the stream, and the village is forgiven. They're forgiven for their sins. If that's all true, then Hanyuu, or rather Ayashiro-sama, is such a tragic existence. She really, really is. I wonder if it's almost like linked in the sense that, say, if people have the syndrome and they start going into L4-5 and start spiraling into paranoia and freaking out and trying to like push blame around, then the reason they have the third footstep in the I'm sorry's is because Hanyuu appears to try and like take that over from them. The third footstep, by the way, even though I suspect it's just Hanyuu, it still really freaks me out because I remember that being one of the things that I found most scary when I was reading the manga originally. The idea that you'd be walking and you'd stop and there'd be a third footstep behind you fucks me up. I've asked Hanyuu about this before. Then she told me the following story. 4 people are stuck in a snowy mountain cabin. They play a game where each sit in one of the 4 corners. It's a fairly well-known story. It's in the middle of winter. They're all getting sleepy. If they fall asleep, they die. So one of them comes up with an idea. They're sitting in the 4 corners of the room, so someone just has to walk clockwise to the next corner and wake up the person sitting in that corner. The one who just walked will sit in that corner, and the one who just woke up will get up, walk to the next corner and wake up the person sitting there. If they keep doing that, nobody will fall asleep. People who know the story won't need an explanation, but this doesn't work with 4 people. When the first person gets up, their corner becomes empty. So after everyone takes turns, the 4th person goes to the next corner, which is an empty one. They sit down and fall asleep, so the game is over right there and everyone freezes to death. In other words, to play this game you need more than 4 people. You need 1 more person in order to be saved. People usually tell this as a ghost story. They usually say this was actually a group of 5 people, but one was already dead, and thanks to that ghost, they're able to continue living until the next morning. Hanyuu once told me that she's like that 5th person. If she can make everything run smoothly by joining a circle of people, then it's very similar to how the telephone game in the mountain cabin manages to function without breaking. Hanyuu can complete a circle that can't be realised by people alone. Then those people can live peacefully. She's an existence that completes a circle. Is she bothered by her haunts because it reminds her of a time when she was called a demon and punished for the sins she took in? Is the subconscious still tormenting her with thoughts that those who have haunts ought to be persecuted? She was born with those haunts. She was hated and abused because of them. Really? I definitely shouldn't have said anything, huh? Just because she has those haunts, she has to take in everyone's sins and cleanse them. She did that, and then she was worshipped as a god. Huh? A god? I was talking to myself. Forget about it. Huh? Pardon? Nobody knows who Hanyuu really is. Is she really a divine existence that descended from a higher place? Or is she simply an unlucky girl who became a sacrifice just because she had a pair of horns? Nobody knows. For this girl's blood was blended with the Furude family's blood, and that blood has descended into me. Our legends say that if the Furude family has a girl for their firstborn child for 8 generations in a row, that 8th child will be a reincarnation of Ayashiro-sama. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm that 8th generation. Is that why I was the only person you could see her? 8 generations is a long time. Maybe that's how long it took for all the sins Hanyuu assumed to be cleared. 8 represents infinity. It's a very lucky number. Often curses, uttered or contain, are cursed you for 7 generations, but the 8th lies beyond that. In other words, it possesses such good fortune that it can forgive great curses and sins that span 7 generations. It's a number with power. It's the time Hanyuu needed to cleanse all the sins she took in from the humans. It's the number of arcs that we needed to get to the right end. Hanyuu and her people simply wanted to coexist with us, but Hanyuu had to become a sacrifice. Her stomach was cut open and its contents washed down the stream. Then she was thrown into the swamp. And so the Furude family has been waiting. They waited for a very long time for her to come back. They kept traditions alive, waiting forever and ever for her to return. According to legend, the name Furude was made by adding a horn to the character for fortune teller. The Furude family rose when Hanyuu's bloodline was combined with that of human beings. Hanyuu is the ancestor of the Furude family and the mother of us all. When I was little, Hanyuu taught me a lot more things than my mother did. It's no wonder. I'm her descendant. The curse on the clan who exorcised and buried their very own mother was finally absolved after 8 generations, what seemed like an eternity. And then she met me, her descendant, the final generation of the Furude family. Sometimes when I think about that, I feel like there must be some important meaning to this hapless fate thrust upon me. But what kind of meaning could the trial I face, trial of breaking through the obstacles sealing my fate, have upon the curse that plagued Hanyuu and the Furude family for over a millennium? 1,000 years is simply too long a period to communicate thoughts and intentions correctly. Hanyuu has become a curse we call Ayashiro-sama. Though she originally was a means of salvation, she's become a chain that binds people. The rules about coexisting were misinterpreted as law that binds villagers to this place, and continued until the Meiji era. And while the village winds once again blow towards a misunderstanding of isolation thanks to the dam conflict, how does that play into my meeting with Hanyuu and this motley fate we're trapped in? I haven't lived long enough to be able to understand that. The only thing I can say for sure is that the Furude family originated when Hanyuu's bloodline mixed with that of humans, and the line's final descendant, me, finally met with its ancestor. The Furude bloodline bears a cursed history of placing all of man's sins onto its mother and killing her. Now, the beginning and end of that line have met. Hanyuu always wanted to join everyone, yet she couldn't hide her haunts. Even so, she still wished to be an existence that completes a circle. It's a child's job to bury their parents. But, Mother, I've never heard that it's a child's job to kill and bury their parents. Don't ask, child. I'm not human. My haunts are proof that I'm a demon. A demon's job is to take on the calamities of the human's world. Bearing the calamities of this chaotic world and cleansing the unrest in mankind's hearts is my role. Then, why do you have to be the one? People's sins are people's sins. They aren't yours. Listen, child. People live with their sins. They can't live without making someone else take the blame. Nobody wants to take the blame, so they shift that responsibility around. That is a demon, the true demon disrupting the world of man. By burying it myself, man may be cleansed and mankind can be freed from the destiny of doubt and conflict. Let all the sins, the filth, the karma and the curse come to me. Then attack me, purify me, wash me down the stream and throw me in the swamp. A human will not do, so it is the fate of one not human to accept that role. If a human were made to bear it, then mankind would not be freed from the demon of doubt. I don't understand. I don't understand, Mother. Mother, you have horns. You're saying you aren't human just because you have horns? That even if you are human, the horns make you non-human? Even if you have horns, you're still human to me. My child, you're the only one who's ever said that. Even if everyone calls me, demon or whatever else, you'll still call me human. What is passed down in the Frude's many forbidden scrolls, the ones unknown even to the head of the three families, is sealed on the altar of the shrine storage. Understanding that would probably require about as much time as I've spent repeating time. Yet once you understand that, perhaps you'll better understand the smile Hanyuu wears as she innocently plays with everyone. Are you okay? I heard Mion yell in surprise. Something must have happened. What is it? What's going on? Hanyuu tripped and tumbled down the hill over there. Hanyuu, are you okay? She rolled beautifully, but I hope she didn't sprain her ankle or anything. Let's go look. Hanyu'd been playing on the slope and tumbled down it. There's a road just below the slope. Mion and the others went down the stairs to get to her. Let's go. I hope she isn't injured. When I got there, I saw Tomitake and Takano. They were taking care of her. What happened? We just saw her roll down the hill. She did tumble beautifully, though, but I think she hit her head, so I'm sure she'll get a bump later. Make sure you put some ice on it, okay? Hanyuu! Hanyuu! Can you hear us? Look, how many fingers do you see? Oh. She sounded disoriented, but didn't appear to be injured. What a relief for everyone. I bet she's just feeling dizzy from rolling. I'm glad. I'm glad you're not hurt. Just think, though, how lucky of you to have a nurse waiting for you down here. What perfect timing. Well, when I'm not working, I'm a wild bird photographer. Right, Jiro? Well, yeah, I guess. Haha. A Hinamizawa kid would never get hurt from something like that. In other words, you're already one of us, Hanyuu. Hanyuu? Is that your name? I've never seen you before. Are you new around here? Yes, she is. She transferred in just last Monday. What are these? How peculiar. They some kind of toy? Mr. Kano tried to poke at one of Hanyuu's horns. They'd be an interesting hair accessory, if they were an accessory. That's what's cute about Hanyuu. Please don't touch them, though. Is that so? I don't think they're that cute, though. Drool, they look just like... Don't they? Suddenly Hanyuu moaned as if suffocating. Takano, Hanyuu isn't a monster. Don't ever say that again. That's right, Mr. Kano. That was mean. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. Rika said it rather firmly. I'm sure Hanyuu doesn't want to hear that word. Sometimes Mr. Kano says things in a derogatory way without realising it herself. But I guess there are things you can't or shouldn't say. Hanyuu was looking with Mr. Kano with a complicated look on her face. After seeing that expression, Mr. Kano realised she might have hurt her feelings. She apologised and left with Tomitake. Are you okay, Hanyuu? You landed beautifully too, so you're not injured. Rika, that person... Oh. Huh? That's Takano. 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 Hanyuu repeated her name. All of a sudden, I grew worried that she hit her head or something. Hanyuu stood up straight and grabbed Rika's collar. Rika. Oh, it's Takano. 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 That's right, she's Takano. No, Rika. Takano. Don't you remember? I know. Mio Takano, right? From the Iria clinic. You can't remember? Sorry, Hanyuu. What are you talking about? Rika, this can't be. This is the last one. The last one. She finally imprinted herself with a true enemy's name while enduring the pain of her stomach being cut open. And yet she can't remember. Rika Frude has failed to inherit the memory of the fragments. Fuck me. Oh, Akasaka. Long time no see. Mr. Oishi, you haven't changed a bit. What are you saying? I've been on an apple diet lately and I've lost a few pounds. Can't you tell? But just look at you. You look great. Well, I have to stay in shape for my job. Hey, Kura, is this the guy? The one who came here a few years ago from Tokyo? Nice to see you again too, Mr. Handaya. It has been a while. My, look at you. Must be nice to be so young. Well, since you came such a long way, let's just head to a restaurant. I'm a regular there, so I'm sure we can get in before it opens. Come on. Oh, Mr. Oishi, you sure? Don't you still have some work to do? What? Not at all. I'm on special training with a mission investigator from Tokyo headquarters. Come on, let's get going. Oh, wait, I've got to make a phone call first. They're greenhorns compared to someone like you, but I put some help together for us. Ah, there you are. Kuma, do you want to come play with us tonight? Mr. Oishi, you really haven't changed a bit. Funky music again. Akasaka used to think Oishi wasn't serious enough about work, but after experiencing many different things in the real world, that preconception had completely disappeared. Oishi is that way because of his experience. It's not always best to take things seriously. In this world, sometimes being that frank can help. In Akasaka's case, people often tell him to relax more, but in Oishi's case, maybe he should straighten out a little. Come on, Akasaka, let's go. Yes, at once. Good answer. You sound like a veteran police officer now. Glad to hear it. The old Akasaka would have thought Oishi was making fun of him, but by now he could take it as an honest assessment. Boy, you sure can drink now, Akasaka. Don't think I can keep up with you. Must be true that when one gets old, they can't drink as much as before. Ah, you're too modest. I'm just better because an intelligent officer has to be able to hold his liquor. I have a budget set aside at all times for training with my young colleagues. Japanese sake, Western liquor, Chinese liquor, whatever. Sometimes I drink at little bars and sometimes at expensive clubs. That sounds pretty good. I'll have to join you to coach them sometime. Please come teach us your tricks. Young guys nowadays often talk about how they can't drink. Couldn't drink at all at first, you know. The more you drink, the better your body adjusts to alcohol and the more you enjoy it. That's right. You listening, Kuma? Yes, I heard. I can down quite a few now. No, really, you're right. When you first teamed up with Oishi, you were already drinking oolong tea with a toast. That's no good. Toast is a very important meaning. If you don't drink any alcohol, you're saying you're not satisfied with the party. So when I see young people like that, I tell them, I'm not saying you have to drink up in one gulp, but your first round has to at least be a medium mug. When Akasaka first came to Okonomiya, he was very nervous, but there was no trace of that tension left in him. Seeing that, Oishi realised just how much he'd learned in the past few years. There you go, Akasaka. Man, you've really grown a lot more dependable. During the years I've been waiting to retire, you've grown so much. Might be time for the younger generation to take over, huh? That's not true. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the only thing that matters is experience. Leave the hard labour and the crime scenes to us young officers, while you veterans take pride at your desk and work us to the bone. Do you hear that, Kuma-chan? Kuma? Did you? Did you? Okay, I heard him. I'll give it everything I've got. Oishi, Kuma guy is already giving everything he's got. He's did an amount of patrols to make up for your distaste for them. You know how Mr. Oishi is, right? I've only worked with him for a few days, but I understand what you're going through. Even so, he'll make you into a good cop. Just believe in him. I like Kuma guy, I have to say. Yes sir, I'll do my best. But even if I learn how to drink, I can't learn how to be good at mahjong. Mr. Oishi takes all my pay before I can give it to my wife. Mahjong is intellectual baggage you need. The more you pay, the more confident you get. Let's play together later. I'll teach you how not to lose. Oishi, he's a good guy, huh? Kind of reminds me of how you were when you were young. Oh, that can't be. I wasn't nearly as handsome. It was unusual for Oishi to enjoy anyone's company this much. Akasaka and Oishi only worked together for a few days. They'd exchanged some holiday cards since, but that was about it. Oishi had no idea how happy it would make him to see such a greenhorn grow into a dependable cop. Oishi always thought he wanted to be active until the day he retired, but after seeing such a dependable colleague, he began to think that maybe it was time for him to step down. Oishi and Akasaka enjoyed their reunion more than they thought they would. I'm going to keep going to the end of this chapter. The owner of the place was bringing the electric sign inside. All the chairs were up on the tables and the owner's wife was cleaning the floor. There was nobody else around. Judging by the clock, it was almost 3 a.m. This is a reunion, right, Kura? Take your time, okay? Just wake me up when you leave so I can lock the door. Oh, sorry about this. Thank you. There wouldn't be anything else open at such late an hour. Oishi and his colleagues still wanted to talk, so they decided to stay. Kumagai couldn't fight a sleepiness and was nodding off. They were talking about Akasaka's job. Akasaka works at a department specialising in public safety. Uishi and the others were interested in all his stories of danger and bravery. Anyway, I want to meet with Rika Furude. By Rika Furude, you mean the orphan daughter of the Furude family? Orphaned? What happened to her parents? Rika Furude had predicted there would be an incident in Hinamizawa every year for the following 5 years. Her parents, according to her, were supposed to be killed on the 3rd year running. Yeah, it was the 3rd year of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. 1981 it must have been. The Furude couple died rather suspiciously. It was 3 years after you came to Hinamizawa, Akasaka. 3 years? Did it happen in June, 3 years after I visited? That's about right. Why? Is there something about it that bothers you? Akasaka shut his eyes tightly to chase away the alcohol in his brain and tried to remember the girl's prediction. He had, after all, come here to confirm it. Came here in 1978. And what about the damn construction site manager? Oh, that's the guy I played Mahjong with. How's he been doing? It was in the newspaper, I think. Maybe it was just in the local ones. Well, he was killed in a fight with the other workers that year. Rika Furude had predicted he'd be killed in a gruesome way, that his body would be dismembered. Was he mutilated? See, you know about it already. That's exactly it. His right arm is still missing too. So unfortunate. The following year, on the same day, in June 1980, Satoko's parents will be pushed to their deaths. Maybe it should be called an accident. A lamentable accident. I'll continue. The following year, the year after the manager's death, I know. Satoko was, I think she's a little girl. Did her parents die in an accident? How much do you already know? That's right. Dam supporters, the Hojo couple, fell off a cliff while on vacation, though it still hasn't been confirmed if it was an accident or an incident. And the following year, on the same day, in June 1981, my parents will be killed. And the following year, yes, Rika Furude's parents died, but none of those incidents make sense. You sure know a lot about the curse of Oyashiro-sama. None of those incidents were made public because of pressure from the local, so I'm surprised at how much you know about them. I can't believe this. But even you can't know about the following year, because starting with the 4th year in a row, we decided to investigate secretly. I think I know about it anyway. And the following year, on the same day, in June 1982, Satoko's mean aunt will die. Her head will be smashed in. The following year, so that was last year, Satoko from earlier, wasn't her aunt beaten to death? Shit, you're right. Akasaka, how do you know so much? I think I know who'll be killed the year after that. What are you saying? Besides, the year after last year means this year. I'll be killed. It will be in June of 1983. This month, Rika Furude will be killed. Mr. Oishi and the others were at a loss for words. Akasaka talked about the 4 mysterious incidents. Although he may have been far away, he belonged to a very special unit of public safety. Could have been possible for him to find out about their secret investigations. That's why it wasn't that odd for him to mention the series of mysterious deaths, even though he'd been far away from Hinamizawa. However, not only did he know about them, but he also named the next victim. Oishi and his co-workers had sobered up entirely. Akasaka, it's getting late. We're all exhausted, so let me get to the bottom of this. What is it that you're trying to say? Okay, all of this is what she told me when I was in Hinamizawa in June 1978. What? Oishi couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was left speechless. I know it's hard to believe. When she told me back then, I thought she was just being a mischievous little girl, but she told me she was going to be killed in the 5th year running. In other words, she asked me to help her, I think. Main purpose of my visit to Hinamizawa this time is to find her and ask if she still needs my help. Akasaka, I'm retiring this year. I want to take revenge on the people who killed the manager in the 1st year. I'll jump on any deed I can find, so let me just confirm this with you. What you just said isn't a joke, is it? If it is, you'd better tell me right now. I'm telling you the truth. Rika Furude told me this in June 1978. But at the time I didn't think anything of it, so I didn't tell you. I'm very sorry. No, you didn't know. Even if you had told me, I don't think I'd have believed you. Only because it happened 4 years in a row do we believe you now. I wish he must have been thinking that if only Akasaka had told him back then, he could have saved his friend. But what the old man from forensics just said was right too. I wish he wouldn't have believed him back then. And his friend would have died anyway, and I wish he would have been left with regret and not being able to do anything. It's true. I should be the one apologising. Still, Rika Furude. Why Rika? I don't know exactly what's going on in Hinamizawa right now. I read in the papers the dam construction plan was halted indefinitely. That's why I assumed it was peaceful now. Dam conflict is over, yeah, but starting the following year, these mysterious deaths, known locally as the curse of Oyashiro-sama, started to occur annually, and it played out just like you said. I think she's entrusted me with something extremely important. Mr. Oishi, let me ask you, do you think it's possible for Rika to be killed this year? They say the Furude couple was held in low regard for being so passive during the dam conflict. That might be the reason why the curse fell upon them in the 3rd year. So why do you think that Rika's death... It's possible, isn't it? Oishi nodded slowly. I'm going to try and get in touch with her tomorrow. I think the best thing to do is talk to her directly. Can I come with you, Akasaka? This story about Rika Furude sounds like something very important for me too. My, you've come bearing quite the incredible gift. I'm getting a bit intrigued myself. I never thought I'd see the day when all the mysteries were solved. Well, I have some questions too. For instance, why did she tell me something that important? She wanted help, why didn't she ask the local police? Why me, a guy on a business trip from Tokyo? Bet she doesn't have faith in the local police. I'm a little unrefined. Rika probably doesn't trust me. Besides, there are people with connections to the Sonozaki family at Okonomiya PD. In other words, she trusted me, the guy who came from Tokyo, more than anyone. I guess. If that's the case, Oishi, please don't tell anyone else about this. Of course I won't. Anyway, let's head directly to Hinamizawa tomorrow and have a talk with Rika. We can start from there. It's hard to believe, but it's the truth, isn't it? It was in the middle of the night. Only the sounds of insects and Satoko snoring could be heard. Rika was sitting by her favourite window. Yes, Takano was the one who killed you, Rika. You and I both saw it. You tried so hard to remember her face. Even as she cut your stomach open, you burnt her face into your memory while enduring all that pain. That, by the way, is such a powerful, well-written and horrible scene to read. It was really, really stomach-turning. It's a horrible way to die. I'm glad I don't remember, but I can see it. That's the kind of death Takano would prefer. Oh. Still, I don't get it. Why would she kill me? I'm the Queen Carrier, and if I die, a disaster will occur, right? Isn't that why the Irie Institute and the Mountain Dogs are protecting me? Then why would Takano, their leader, have me killed? Oh, sorry, that's a useless question. Takano killed me. That's the truth, and her motive doesn't matter, does it? But still, why Takano? Though she just said the motive didn't matter, Rika went back to the same question. The reason why Takano was protecting the Queen Carrier wasn't because she wanted to prevent the rest of Hinamizawa from developing the syndrome. It was because the Queen Carrier was an extremely valuable subject of research. Then, considering that value, why did she kill the Queen Carrier with her own 2 hands? Is Takano my only enemy? Oh, the Mountain Dogs are after you too. I don't know if Irie is your enemy or not, but I don't think he is. Takano and the Mountain Dogs are my enemies? Got to be kidding me. How can we possibly win? There's no way. Unless it's a miracle of some kind, we can't fight against people like them. Besides, Watanagashi is this Sunday. I'll be killed on the 22nd. It's in about a week or so, right? How can we beat them in such a short amount of time? Should we try going after Takano with a metal bat? That won't work. She's only one of them. Even if we take her out, the Mountain Dogs will still get us. What do we do? What should we do? I don't know either. But we didn't even know our enemy before now. This time, we do. There must be something we can do. This was the first time in a long time that Hanyuu had spoken so positively. Rika was startled for a moment and realised she was losing her cool. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She was still confused that Takano was the culprit. Rika had always thought of Takano as her ally. There were, after all, many reasons why Takano should treat her well. Rika couldn't even think of one reason why Takano would want to kill her. Still, she was always thinking about bizarre things. There was no guarantee that a crazy idea of hers couldn't become a motive. So that means if Tomitake is killed, then is he an ally? I think he is. That's an idea, Rika. You should talk to Tomitake. Takano was accompanied by the Mountain Dogs because of an organisation named Tokyo. So could Rika ask for help only from someone affiliated with that organisation? In that case, Tomitake was the only one she could talk to about the issue, though Irie might also be worth having a talk with. But then, that was why she needed to know. She needed to know why Takano wanted to kill her. Unless she could explain that, they probably wouldn't even believe her. Besides, Tomitake was in love with her. He wouldn't doubt her so easily. Irie seemed to be keeping a little distance from her. He might be a little more inclined to believe, but as someone who is simply a doctor, he knew little about Tokyo. He might end up being useless to her, Rika. Then should she call the police? No, definitely not. There was no way they'd believe her. If she were to make a call and say that a strange organisation named Tokyo was trying to kill her, they'd think she was crazy. Then what could she do? How could she save herself? The scariest people in Hinamizawa were coming to kill her. How could she run from them? How could she fight them? How? She'd remember the scene of Takano killing her, then she wouldn't have been so confused. Because seeing is believing. But she didn't remember. This was just what Hanyuu was telling her. She didn't want Takano to be her enemy. This was the truth she didn't want to accept. So she was tempted to just say that this was all Hanyuu's delusion. Calm down, Rika. We learnt in our past life. Don't you remember the previous world? Previous world? Do you mean the one where Reina spread gasoline all over the school and locked everyone inside? No, the world after that. Don't you remember? In that world, he came back. Teppei Hojo did. That's the worst possible world. No matter what we do, the councillors won't do anything. Stoko goes insane within a few days. Someone from my circle of friends develops the syndrome and attacked Teppei, right? No. In the previous world, we all went to the CCC and saved her. In that world, Keiichi taught you so much. He taught you that you have to believe, otherwise a miracle won't occur. And he also said that if everyone believes, their wishes will definitely come true. That sure is something Keiichi would say, but that's great. To defeat the world where Teppei returns? We couldn't do anything about that world even once before. Do you know how Keiichi and the other worlds in that world made a miracle happen? They talked to everyone. They didn't convince themselves it was useless or agonize over it by themselves. They asked everyone for help. That's how they brought about a miracle. Everyone? So you want me to talk to Keiichi and the others about Takano? Do you really think they'd believe me if I told them like an organization like Tokyo's after me? They will. They did in the previous world. Why wouldn't you believe me, Rika? Sorry, it's not that I don't believe you. You saw it, so it's the truth, isn't it? I had no idea how frustrating it would be not to remember it myself. Anyway, you and me going on our butts won't solve anything. We don't have enough power on our own, but we have our weapon. That weapon is the truth. We don't know her motive, but we know that the culprit is Takano, so this is a very good start compared to all the other worlds. But why can't you remember it at the very end? Hanyuu ground her teeth remorsefully. She saw the truth just a short time ago, so she couldn't believe that Rika didn't remember anything. If it was something she'd seen herself, then she wouldn't even need a motive. But she hadn't, and that's why she couldn't understand. Why was her memory missing, even when Hanyuu's was intact? Did that mean their long journey was about to end? Perhaps the infinitely repeating journey was already over, and this was the last world of all. Wink. Whew. Thought this world was odd, since everyone could see you, and you even transferred to our school, but now I can really see how strange of a world this is. There's nothing strange about it. This is just the final world, that's all. I came to this final world so we can gather all our powers. I'm not a bystander here. I'm your ally. I see. You're no longer a bystander, huh? Decided not to be afraid anymore. I'm not afraid, and I'm going to believe with all of you. And a miracle will happen. This is a world we can bet on, this June of 1983. Rika and Takano are fighting. If Rika doesn't defeat her enemy in time, she'll lose. Takano has many powerful pieces, like the mountain dogs. Rika will need a lot more pieces to be able to defeat her. So unless Rika asks for help from many people and gathers an equal number of pieces, the game won't even begin. We've learned the rules of this game board by playing the game repeatedly. It's like a game without a manual, but we've learned the rules and now we know how to fight. We're ahead in the game because we already know what pieces our enemy has. Rika, you have to get busy. We only have 1 week before we're Higurashi. We had 2 weeks in the previous world, but we only have 1 week in this one. This is our final chance. Okay, rather than grieving over what I don't remember, I should be grateful that you do. Because if you didn't, this final world would end while we ran about in confusion. If I talk to Keiichi and the others in the right way, maybe they'll come up with some good ideas. Because he was the one who fought with Reina in that previous world, and when the school was about to explode, he brought her back. Exactly. Anyway, let's go talk to anyone we can find. We're too weak by ourselves. Let's gather people and think about what to do. We have to take our first steps towards the miracle. We have to do that within a week. Hanyuu had never encouraged her like this before. She'd always pretended to be a bystander. She never wanted to go through the pain of failure, so she never had expectations for anything. But now she was trying to intervene in this world, so passionately and proactively. According to Hanyuu, there'd been another world after the one in which Reina occupied the school. Apparently, Keiichi really inspired her in that world. Rika had nothing to lose. She had to talk to whoever she thought she could trust, and whether she tried or not, she had only a very short time left. She decided to do whatever she possibly could until that time arrived. She'd never again act like it was too cool to sip wine, pretending to be a witch as though end closed upon her. Even though she definitely is at least one of those things. Okay, my throat super hurts, and I think this is a good, like, a good little, whoops, what was I? Hit all the wrong buttons. A good little cliffhanger to leave us on. So I am going to end stream here. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. It is very, very, very much appreciated. And I do hope that you enjoyed. I will be streaming I am pretty certain I'm going to be streaming Destiny 2 tomorrow. It's going to be a weird stream. I would have done it yesterday, but workload was all over the place. So I'm going to be streaming Destiny 2 tomorrow. We're going to be checking out the start of Season of the Chosen, which I'm actually going to try and do this season, given that I had to miss so much of the hunt. Then on Saturday it'll be Nier Automata, where we're going to be finishing Route C2 to get endings D and E. Then on Sunday, it's not going to be Destiny 2, it's Valentine's Day, so I'm going to be doing a Valentine's special stream. It's a game called One Night Stand, which has been in my playlist for ages, and I've not played it yet, so I'm excited to see what happens. And next Tuesday will be Final Fantasy XIV, where we'll be continuing to hang out and chill. We're going to be doing the Valentione and Little Ladies Day events, so we'll be doing that next Tuesday. Pardon me, and then next Thursday will be more Higurashi When They Cry, Matsuribayashi, where we will continue to try and defeat the game, defeat Takano, and see where it takes us. So take care everybody, have a wonderful evening, thank you very much for all the raids and the follow. Have a wonderful evening, look after each other, whatever other platitudes I say, I've completely lost track, I'm very sleepy. I shall see you guys possibly tomorrow and definitely on Saturday.